can always win the gunfight.
Well, I think that's a really interesting thing to bring up because, you know, whatever, there's that ever-loving debate, whatever, controller versus mouse and keyboard. But I know kind of talking to Brad, one thing he's really kind of taken to heart is that, yes, I have learned how to play my particular input, right? He knows how to position himself, like you said, because he knows that he's not going to win those up-close and personal gunfights. So puts himself towards that mid-range. He's able to do it, but unfortunately, it is Levi at the end. And it was a PDS that Levi was able to use to give him the play.
Yeah, I was going to say, he was out there for a while without a gas mask. Here's the final moment, the final kill. And yet again, it was another third party, a fantastic execution of his plan, I am sure. Levi said, I want to play the edge. I want to make sure they fight before I have to fight them. You actually saw in that fight with Breadman, he backed off first to make sure Bread rotated the other way when they got each other weak, and then that forced the encounter. Bread wins the fight, but Levi cleans him up.
Yeah, really, really solid. I know, you know, Na'Vi as an organization, they were super hyped to be here in Call of Duty Warzone. They pick up this squad. They've been hyping them up on social media. It's got to feel good to finally have somebody on your team take a map win. You're feeling great, and you're setting yourself up for success for the rest of the day.
A ton of success. Lots more to play for, though. Let's head back to the desk. Taylor, Reflections Noble.
Yeah, we're just watch partying the $1 million tourney.
Huh?
Hey, big wins, right? That was a pretty good game as far as I'm concerned. Even looking at Shifty, Shifty makes a pretty deep run, but I love that disengagement that he did. Right, top prison, drops down in the smoke. He's getting lasers from up top, even down low. What does he do?
Music.
Well, he hops in the vehicle, gets away. Like, sometimes in Warzone, right, it's not just about the engagement. It's about getting into the fights. It's about disengaging as well. And I think, I don't know, Dandro, some of the best, man, they're able to disengage pretty well.
I feel like it's exactly what it was. So I'm curious to see what do some of the analysts have, because I know Seymour and Brody were waiting and watching that game, waiting to break it all down. I can't wait to see what they have to say.
Well, they definitely were, and I tell you what, Brody's out for the moment anyways. We'll pop in Dream. We get to talk about it, and Seymour as well. Welcome back to the analyst desk. That is third game on broadcast, but the first game for Group C, right? To the chance to really see what they were all about.
I think it's just like,
and I tell you what, it did not
being
disappoint.
used to it, I suppose.
Breadman in second place is a big one, but I think first let's start off with number one.
Getting some reps in on how to stay calm.
That is huge for Na'Vi in general. A newer org in the Call of Duty scene. We haven't really seen them around these parts before, but it looks like Levi's trying to shoot them up the leaderboards now because they didn't have a good showing in our first two matches. You saw that Limax was all the way near, I think it was like bottom 2 or bottom 3, or Limax wasn't playing too well. Yeah. So it's nice to see that Levi is coming to play here in Group C, trying to buff out those mistakes early on to try to get yourself a good end towards these groups. And I think towards the end, it comes down to the basics of Warzone, really. That height control over Breadman and Raul, instead of, you know, allowing them to keep up top. It was good play style from Levi.
You know, and I just wanted to add to that Limax played with Breadman last year, right, with Joe. So it's just like, kind of like old teammate. And I know that wasn't necessarily it, but still, Levi to be able to take that, you know, there's got to be some motivation, at least from Limax's end. But
let's get in there.
Let's get in there, right? But no, although I will say that Raul, yes, how amazing was it to see him maybe feeding off that energy, momentum teams we talked about, feeding that momentum into this game. Like, that's awesome to see Raul keep it slaying. But you notice a lot of these players were backing down, right?
Yeah.
Disengaging is super important, as you'd mentioned, and that's just going to be the key for some of these teams. Like, just the balance between being too aggressive, overly aggressive, but disengaging, and that play from Shifty, big brain, super, super key.
It was, and again, just to highlight that once more, Shifty to disengage in the way that he did was truly special. Like in those moments, I think 99% of the players competing are most likely dead in that moment, right? You're not getting away from. I mean, seriously, you're not getting away. Well, you're not one of the players. If you were, you'd be making a lot of money, and then I'd become your best friend. I already am. Let's be honest. But hey, Shifty to back away like that was really impressive to me. To get away, ultimately he's finished up. Breadman
also
was
has 2 cats, so if we move in together, we'll have 4. That's a lot of cats.
Breadman's like, well, hold up, I'm not done just yet, and takes him out. But
if that's what brings you happiness,
you understand, like, what really took place. Husker started us off strong.
Get 2 together.
Down the finish. Breadman was also there. Patsuka, let's talk about him. What was he doing on the battlefield?
I mean, it's another one where you're just kind of trying to buff things out for your team here. Vitality did not have a good first 2 games either, and Patsuka coming in, showing some good promise for this team. I know, we talked about how they have that language barrier.
Gosh, hello,
Patsuka
Trick
coming
Empathy.
in, showing that it's all down to the slaying as well. But, Jace, that was a funny moment, shooting fish in the barrels with that Car 98. I love to see just the fun moments here, but no, most importantly, that Vitality team, we know them to be renowned as one of the most dangerous teams in EU, and it's good to see Patsuka finding form.
Can we just talk about how Hisoka and Shifty kind of had a little one-on-one earlier in the game? Like I think like the Falcons can only just take each other out at this point, but we have like Biffle and earlier.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, these engagements definitely seemed more fast-paced. And yeah, Jace in the beginning, and what was surprising about that, I think offline Brody had mentioned it. It's surprising to see like he was sniping Allman. I don't know if Wars of their Huskers, but you saw like good players hanging out in the beginning on the water edges, but kind of like, as we had mentioned, less snipers.
Right.
We thought it would be more, but there was less this one.
Yeah, it's also too dependent on zone. I'm curious how impactful they would have been. Now, I do know there was a moment, again, when Shifty was disengaging, there was a ton of teams on top of Prison.
Wait, why did Soka shoot Liam's body?
Place to kind of, lay down the line of sight for the snipers. So I thought that would come out a little bit more there, but once we rotated down towards Factory Lake, that's where things started to get a little bit weird.
It's a little wonky there because you were watching Jace and you saw how many people were doing cannonballs into the water, and all of a sudden the gas is pulling onto the other side of Prison and everybody has to go across Prison, so it just creates that big jumble on the inside that you did see. And I do kind of personally expect there to be a little bit less snipers because it is Resurgence and it is solos. There's not a lot of time to really breathe before somebody just jumps on you. So you don't always want to have a sniper in your back pocket.
That's right.
I kind of like that strategy. Like, okay, guys, if we're dropping in, where are we landing? Where are we landing?
Right.
No, I'm asking, where are we landing?
I'm going Factory.
You're going Factory? See,
I'm landing in the water.
The rotation
in the water is crazy.
Factory, sometimes it's just so hard to rotate out of there. I kind of like the Control tense rotation, right? A little bit more covered, but even, running up to Prison, the verticality going from Factory up to Prison.
I don't know. I've had my dog for almost 4 years now, and he still hates my cat.
A lot of resources early. So, yeah, it's high risk, high reward. You got to just figure out what's
the other cat, he just tries to hump all the time.
The thing about Rebirth is it's extremely punishing if you're caught out on rotation.
Very different.
Especially now with the cars. Cars, right? It was obviously the sniper car. It was nerfed, but not so much to the point where it became irrelevant. It's still very much relevant. That's why we see it consistently. So you better
Arthur
believe
hates
if you're
my one
late,
cat, and
you are
then
going to get your head popped off. We've seen that consistently.
The other
Rebirth,
cat,
again,
I don't know what's going on there.
You have to have the rotations on point and be predicting ahead of time, especially if you're Factory and you can see the zone's going to be pulling up top Prison. You have to get a move on.
I mean, how many surprises are we going to have today so far? We got helicopters, we got
George,
cars,
so
we got Jay coming out and winning in place of Destroy. Today, if this is how the next 3 days are going to be, I'm strapped in, I'm locked in, I'm ready to go.
100%, man. It's already been great. 3 games down. Granted, it's only solos. Imagine when we get to the points of group play, right, tomorrow and day number 3, let alone championship day. Things are just going to get even more wild. But I do believe we have an interview with Shifty, if I'm not mistaken. What did Enigma, what did Shifty have to say? Are we bringing in our casters? It's time to go to another game. Are we bringing in the game?
Bring it to me!
Shift.
This is the problem, Reflections.
Look.
It's Shift and Shifty. We're being real confusing out here for you.
Hey, look, first off, it's great to see you. Let me just say that, okay? Enigma, you're looking great, too. You guys are a duo for the aged. Stop that, all right? Look, it's going to be a good day because, hey, game number 4, right? Group C's been taken over, and let's see if they can continue
to let
that narrative.
the dog know if they want to be alone.
I think the thing here, guys, that you're hitting it on the head when it comes down to what we've already evaluated to this point, plus what's yet to come.
And her claw.
Does Shifty have to now be the guy to get Team Falcons back in the running? Because they're a little bit outside the conversation in terms of major
Not in the nose, but on his muzzle part.
Quite frankly, I mean, don't get me wrong, seeding, and you can overcome that in upcoming days. This is not
I was
the be all and end all for sure.
That must have been really painful for both Bell and Arthur.
Through the media day now, all the conversations offline as well. Who's the best player in the world? Shifty. Well, it's more than ample time here to prove that you deserve that label.
Bell lost a claw.
The thing that's really cool about this conversation is, I think Katie Bedford said it in the opening ceremony last night. Everyone's talking about this Team Falcons team as this is their event to lose. They should be the heavy favorites. But we forget sometimes that as much as they do find collective wins, we have a long history of what's happened in terms of Warzone as a collective whole. And when you swap from Big Map into Resurgence, everything kind of almost gets thrown out in the window a little bit.
No, it does for sure. It brings out something different, but the quality that team possesses, we should still be seeing that same Team Falcons, the side that said when coming into this tournament, if they win this and a couple of other big events this summer,
Okay, so this is the new game.
So time to see if they can step it up. And we're already underway here in map 4. A couple of kills coming on through. Can see Prodigy, Vision, Cams all lighting up the kill feed.
Eddie.
Absolutely the case. And again, the early kills we've already kind of evaluated over the first 3 drops.
Prodigy
can be crucial, but we've seen a handful of players get to that end of the 3rd circle at 6, 7 eliminations, but not playing good positions. It ends up finding themselves outside the circle and outside of the major multipliers that we're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, it's a double-edged sword in the way in which you play, and especially on Resurgence,
hey,
it's a case of,
have all
of
these animals, but you don't have dogs?
Alleviate some pressure for the late game. You don't have to start to push through difficult positions up against players that are having an absolute heater. Meanwhile, if you're putting yourself on too much of a heater early on, you risk getting gunned by someone else.
Yeah, that has been, I think, the big factor. And we've also seen just the other side. You could find kills and play it safely just by scouting out who's parachuting into the water. It's just using that as kind of a farming point. So we'll see what the players decide to do here, especially as they get their
get a dog.
3rd, and then unfortunately 4th drops individually as our groups continue to move forward. So Zix in particular on screen at the moment. And again, this is a team that could really use some points here, not doing all that well at the moment.
No, they are not. And essentially the home side, we've used that phrase a lot, I feel, already through the show. But this is 2 lads who are from Riyadh. They could walk to the arena.
His second
so
death
they definitely want to be putting on a show, but it's not been their afternoon thus far. Very impressive in the World Series. They've improved every step of the way, but they're going to need to find a bit more about them today.
Absolutely the case. And just taking a look over it, Lukiness, Juki's early lives down. Wars as well also falling, as
Not
Guild
full dead
Esports
yet.
has been one of the major favorites, I think, for a lot of people who are looking at the EU space. Of course, I know you're obviously very biased.
Problem is that if he keeps dying, though, he'll have less and less places to land
in the overall
to
team
regain.
rankings. That's got to feel pretty good for the EU region.
So.
Yeah, it feels great. I won't lie at the minute, seeing the boys put on, they've been talking a lot on the timeline. You know, if we remove that ping factor, we can do big things. And, well, they're showing that nice and early on day 1. Obviously, we've got a long way to go. Yes,
He's just killed himself.
Just going to give Jace a moment here to potentially rest.
He's just killed himself.
And, well, Jace pull it on through. I don't think Jace is willing to just give this up to Stukex.
Look at me, dude. I'm sticking myself. Hey, look, trust me. And he tries to finesse it, but not going to work out. So the strategy ends up working out for the extra kill. Just 1 overall elimination to this point. And this is when we start to see everyone's starting to drop back in. We're going to get a lot of those water safety drops.
Yeah, we are indeed. And it's about who can start to play around that, as we saw Jace do earlier. Maybe pick off a couple of easy kills. Meanwhile, Aiden has opted for prison. A relatively uncontested space for once.
50's kind of frying right now.
A case of people looking to play around the outside of the map, a bit more safety, and then collapse on in. But 3 kills already. It looks like Aiden may well have just laid siege to this whole region.
Jace is wiped. Oh, he just got wiped by Bread.
He can just dominate the middle of the map like this with his preferred loadout. Yikes. Watch out. He very well
That's not an ideal situation at all.
Top overall kills to this point. Clean initially, but woo, Maddie with a little drop shot pop up. Won't call it a full-on World Star turn on, but boy, it was close.
I mean, that exactly there is one of those moments that we are seeing throughout this tournament and how quickly your game can swing, right? We're talking about how good Aiden's looking, could well take kill leader off the
no, he's not. He's right there.
Sorry, and then gets absolutely beamed by a player that he's probably not expecting to be challenging him.
Let's go, Benjamin! Killing Levi!
To be expected. On a scale of 1 to 10, how surprised are you that Breadman's sitting on top of a tower with a sniper rifle right now?
I'm going to go with about a -4.
He's just looking to farm people coming out of the sky. And of course, see who he can find.
Jay's having a rough time.
Very forgiving in terms of where we're currently standing, but 4 players already out. Make that now
Wars is out.
As we're going to see number 37 in Wars actually down. So one of the members from Guild already down and out. Not the greatest drop for Wars initially. And we go back to Breadman, who's doing his Breadman thing.
He's about to fight Believe.
Wow.
Well,
I was going to say he gets Brawlic, but actually at the exact same time, Donkey
I didn't believe
him
about
from
to
elsewhere.
fight.
Donkey gets that kill in the end. But yeah, this is exactly what Breadman said he was going to do in the interview that I had with him yesterday. He's going to find this kind of position. He's even going to look to do this kind of thing when we talk trios as well, provide coverage over his teammates. So I mean, maybe just getting an early feel, a bit of lay of the land as Lennon looks to find himself some fish in a barrel.
And this is what we saw Breadman doing last game.
I think Eddie only has like 1 or 2 kills this game.
Loadouts in the water. You also see
Ben re-landed back on Levi. Ben killed Levi. Levi landed back on him, killed him. Then Ben re-landed back on Levi and killed Levi.
Very rapidly, as we've already seen. Zeppa down and out as well. So again,
wait, Levi landed back.
Full-on eliminations at this point.
Oh no, Eddie! Eddie's about to kill Ben.
Indeed, and You're starting to see a couple of players get compressed together. That prison spot no longer as quiet as it once was.
No!
Zix and Tenix are going to try and fight over the same spot,
And
but Zix actually
White
loses
Teddy.
space to Hoskers, and, well, Tenix actually looking to play in through the bottom, but has a couple of suppression mines to clear. Is likely going to suspect players above. Of course, we can see that we've just lost Zix up there, but he has absolutely no idea and currently trying to assess the situation. But it looks like there's actually a new person who's taken the whole region.
Dropping in, coming back forward, of course, with dropout, loadouts.
Linen's on 7.
Starting to find a way to, in
He's
the mid-game
cooking.
portion, get themselves kitted out for the late status. Linen is waiting at this moment. A couple of players nearby, kind of, if he does have to rotate more central into the island, but largely speaking, he's going to be very safe. And with 7 kills already, I think this is the time where you got to evaluate, I've already hit my mark, let me at least try to get to the top 15.
No, I agree completely. I think that once you start to put on a certain amount of kills, and that might well be where you're considering to start to temper yourself and maybe consider to play around the positional multipliers.
No aim
Patsuka
assist.
here, just looking
Crazy.
to chase down Believe, has him cornered. He's able to get some clean shots in. Actually takes quite a bit of damage on the way back,
Oh,
but
thank
just
God.
does enough to shut down Believe there, as it looks like he was going to make the outplay, but he has more company. Bullets in the back, going to have to dive out the window and likely going to be pressed here. Needs a moment to just
That's a really
breathe
good
and
question.
allows himself a second to reset.
Yeah,
Money-wise, I
and again,
think
because
you
you're
get
gonna have
significantly
3
more
players
money for
nearby,
winning
but
this
all the
than you
elevation
do
that
World
comes
Series
to
of
building,
Warzone.
kind of deterring them from finding each other and actually taking the
But
next
World Series of
gunfight. Also,
Warzone
player rotating
holds
in.
more
So
of
it's
a,
starting
like,
to get little bit messy.
prestigious,
That's Hamudu's on his way
like,
forward. and
title.
He's not going to have a lay of the land, so he's just diving on forward, trying to see if he can get good contact, but Patsuka perfectly prepared for it, finds himself kill number 4, and then trying to third party. Yep, that will play. So an opportunity to try to get a couple for Patsuka, but he's got to reset.
He is
Hey, Hetty.
read, and we still have 32 players up. This feels like a little bit of a slower map than the ones that we've been watching throughout this tournament so far.
No,
Maybe
this
Side's
isn't
trying
at
to
all the
adjust their
same as
strategies,
World
a couple
Series of
players
Warzone.
not
World,
getting off to the hot
this
starts
is
that
like
they
a
wanted and looking to
multi-game,
reassess how they play.
like
And then as here,
World
looking to
Cup
just
almost
take
of
control
esports.
industry and give himself an opportunity here to patrol the edge of this circle as it squeezes up.
And this
World
is
Series
all
of Warzone
about-
is 100K
I was gonna say,
each?
perfect time to
Really?
Who's actually rotated in early?
Since when?
Prison is still one of the main focus points.
Oh, maybe
as
this year?
Man continues to find himself in the
'Cause you
kill feed.
definitely
That's
did
gotta
not get
be at
100K
least
last
5
year.
for him to this point. So that's a good start in terms of how you get yourself going. Believe has been squad wiped out, so that's another kind of key team to keep our eye on here as this circle starts to close on in, and eventually we're going to
Yeah, but the solo YOLO doesn't, like,
Vision is
when we
on
talk
12.
winning World
I mean,
Series
we've been
Warzone,
talking a
it
lot
doesn't
about
include
what
solo
Guild
YOLO.
are
Solo YOLO is
potentially
like,
bringing
it's
to the
almost its
table
own,
here. We saw
like-
that King AJ had himself a solid performance earlier. Vision as well has been looking really good throughout his, but 12 at this stage.
Oh, wow.
13 players still remaining in
Okay,
this,
yeah,
along with the
so
resurgence
definitely
timeout,
World
of course.
Series.
Opportunity
Then-
to potentially break 20.
I didn't know that World Series paid out so
European trying to pick
top
out
heavy
Liam,
this year,
and
'cause last
he's
year
gonna
it
have to
wasn't
chase
top
after,
heavy
didn't
at
do enough,
all.
and he's got company from elsewhere. Bullets catch him from the side.
That's going to keep him at least staying on this rooftop while
And
he's
the solo
pursued.
YOLO this year
And
is
this an
significantly
interesting
less
rotation all the
half
way
of
over
what it was
towards
last
the
year.
backside of the freight ship, and Elo's right below him, but this is all about him again. I think just playing for position. You're at 10 kills already. You got to be feeling really solid about your opportunity to actually score some points, where others are dropping in just looking for safety and just trying to keep their lives.
You're not wrong. Speaking of safety, Brolic here, trying to use the top of the water tower to protect himself. Has Breadman underneath him. I'm not exactly sure how Breadman's not recognized that Brolic's above him and likely will at some point. The silencer on that sniper potentially just keeping him covered momentarily. Carnat in hand. We'll hear Brolic above because Brolic's actually just cleaned out Hisoka. And the team Falcons continue to struggle here, Shift.
It's really just been Shifty, the only one who's been able to put together really any notable kills to this point, let alone placements. So top 30 only gets you a 1.2 times multiplier. The next checkpoint we're looking for is to see who can crack to the top 15 as we head over to, again, a replay of what Patsuka's been able to do over through the inside. Now he finds himself, again, a little bit trapped in gate kept as
It
it's all
instead-
about what can you find from here trying to rotate through. Breadman still
I think
very
Ben had a
worried
really
about
good
Brolic
game
up
this
top, and
game, so
rightfully
even though he
after
didn't
the
get-
threat had already been established.
Decent.
It's
Oh,
a
I
problem
actually
for him
might
looking
still
to
be
rotate
fine.
on off there, right? Whoever makes that first jump is likely going to be shot by the other. You've got to assume that
It's like a
Brolic
dark
landed on top of
green.
that water tower, so likely looking low on resources, so he might have to go first with no gas mask. But does Brad have the gas mask to counter that play himself? Hilo actually finds Stuo. Stuo ends up going out, and, well, Bread gets pushed. Brolic deals with him. Bread's out of here.
That is perfect timing.
Surgeons is
Because you're
able to-
dealing with now circle number 4 starting to come together. And Brolic has now owned some high ground. He's going to have to parachute in
Oh, yeah,
towards
Ben
the
is right
safer
there.
circle. And the wipes continue on coming. Again, 3 more. That's what
Let's go, Benjamin!
before we get to that next multiplier, and then we're dealing with just looking for the top 5.
Ben is going crazy today. He's having a really good game.
Vision's doing on 14, and yeah, the call at this point is at least get top 15, but
Vision's on
ideally,
14
brother,
is
let's find a way to get top 5.
Yeah, 100%. You get yourself that top 5, you get yourself that 1.7. I mean, you are starting to put yourself in the higher numbers of individual games that we've seen throughout this entire tournament. You know, the kind of numbers we're talking about, Z-Smith off of drop 1, but
I don't think I would challenge this if I was Vision.
Showers, a couple of players to just pay attention to, and the problem is with this whole prison region, there's so many
The Falcons are dead, I'm
so
pretty
many
sure.
Oh,
exits, there's a lot to keep track of.
Indeed the case. He's just trying to find himself a little bit of a corner. Smoke still 2 to play with, but finds himself now right into a cell. This is exactly what it is. I mean, this is a confirmation that Vision is just sitting here saying, just don't, where's Waldo? Just don't find me. It's a game of hide and seek for him while everyone else is still
Ben has the roof for free.
For some positioning. Circle's going to close.
Lennon's getting held out.
Yeah, well, Lennon's trying to play too late there. It's a difficult rotation to make. It's uphill. It's against the grain. Nizand will just shut him down and remove him from the board. Looked like Lennon earlier was getting off to a solid start, but that'll bring his reign to an end. And, well, you can see here, this is where we start to get that
Ben has the roof for free.
Available of all the players trying to set up for endgame positions.
And this is the thing, is this circle is pulled extremely south and west of where we were from before. So this is all about, again, try to own this high ground, which Oki is really committing a lot to.
Hey, why would he give up
right
the...
Oki doesn't like the look of it through the smoke, so
zone.
backs off, seeing if maybe he can kind of surprise from the low ground. But any Star Wars fan will know, you don't want to fight from the low ground, especially off of a reset, which it looks like we're starting to get, and Oki will have to forfeit the position.
Oki is one shot, no
Honestly,
re.
this looks a little bit nervy from Oki. He's an individual player with a lot of gun skill, a lot of ability to take on these 1v1 fights, but wasn't quite sure about how to play that one. I think it's the aggression from Tenix that surprises him a little bit. The fact that he was willing to jump out of the tower towards him, fight over this positioning. You can see
Tenix is being really aggressive.
Here, sent it off the next zone, and Tenix is going to contest.
He's pushing everything.
Yeah, they may hear each other here. They're both pretty privy to take this gunfight. Speaking of things as well that we saw earlier, Hazuka having a great map in a good position to continue.
Vision is on
15. Now makes himself active, forced to enter the zone. He's won prison out completely, so now everything else is just going to be right in front of him. Most notably, just the players that are kind of holding
I'm doing good. How are you?
He even sees Almond at range. Vision's on a burner.
Just turn right
here for Vision is he's got to make
Let's
that
go,
play, right?
Benjamin.
He has to dive, burn
Oh,
the gas
but then
mask out for
Ben
spending
died
too
right
long in
after.
prison. Will not get the top 5, falls just short, but will get that top 15 multiplier.
Ben had a really good game here.
Mood then, tucked inside. Oki has managed to pick his roof back up and after being pushed away by Tenix and spots Stable J underneath, lights up a couple of bullets.
Oh, the gas.
Goes out and it is connecting. Will force Stable J out of the cover.
I thought he smoked him. I was like,
what can he do? And he explodes, and those are the kind of things that Oki can deliver.
And now he's got the high ground.
Oki is shooing.
Still trying to work around the backside of this smoke. The rotating zone will get him into the back corner of it. Dongi also putting together a solid game on 9 kills. Is it a good spot to just kind of read where the next rotations are coming
realistically here win this.
Right around the corner.
Because Tenix and Oki should fight each other.
Everyone just holds their breath. Who blinks first?
Dongi should not move here. He should absolutely not move here.
Ask a couple of questions from the high ground here, looking out over the top. He's got Dongi off to his left. Tenix down to his right.
This is legitimately the definition of
Dongi just has to keep doing exactly what he's doing. Don't even move.
Tenix is going to be the first one to move.
Yeah.
Oki right over the top, depending on what his timing is, could set up to actually watch this rotation. Dongi not going to be the first one to shoot. Wants to be the third party here, but Oki gets the damage in and finishes off Tenix really cleanly.
Oki's
so
going to win
1v1.
because the zone pulled up to him.
But Dongi gets obliterated. I mean,
Oki won because the zone pulled to him.
And Oki finishes off the last couple of kills to take the dub.
I mean, I'm just going to go back to that play he made on the rooftop,
That's
right?
crazy.
Against Hamu. The fact that he gets pushed in that second fight, you could easily see the end of your reign there, but he spins, snaps, delivers in a huge
Literally no
1v1.
reaction out of him. Like, so what? I just did that. So what?
Which, again, we weren't really sure what to expect from this squad because Ebwa's got, you know, in some words, kind of gifted a little bit of a captain spot, but you know, hey, you find yourself fortunate to have the opportunity, and he puts together an incredible team.
You
they
on
were
top.
sitting in 4th overall before these results came through. So
I don't think anybody from NA has won yet, right?
At this point, to put together a really solid seed going
Levi
into the rest of the
won,
groups.
Absolutely, I think it'll put a lot of belief into them as well. I mean, we
won.
spoke a little bit
Who
about
won
this in the pre-show,
second
and
game?
This is a lineup of players that, especially Wiz and Oki, we were speaking about them not long ago as being a duo that were very exciting coming through into the customs and looked to be the real deal. And then last year played with FIFA Kill in the World Series. It was a bit underwhelming.
Oh yeah, Jay. Okay, yeah. So we have one NA winner right now.
You behind. Well, Oki is delivering right now through this year and is doing it again here at the Esports World Cup.
And that puts him, I'm sure, in a really good position in the individual kill leaderboard as well as the overall individual score leaderboard, which is what we're looking for. So Team Ab was credited with the W here in drop number 4, and it could not be calmer for
Hey,
overall. He's just like, all right, what's next? it's unreal.
I don't know about you, but if I just pulled off a performance like that at the Esports World Cup at that age,
oh yeah,
I would have been freaking out. But he just seems like it's another given Sunday for him, so he's just going to get himself sorted, get himself out of here, and he seems to have a conversation there with Allman. I think that's one of the great things about this whole competition so far. The players seem to be very much enjoying each other. But we are going to get a last look out over this play.
This has to be a nasty heady. I mean, even looking down towards Dongy's position, he didn't show much, so this must have been an absolute snap and a half.
It's a break, but it's like not a long break.
Initially smoke
like
that comes through. There's the damage. 10x, I imagine just, yeah, okay, very cleanly finish with the Car 98. That
yeah,
was
so
right
this was the second game of Group A versus Group C, I think. So now it's going to be Group B versus Group C right now. So Eddie will still be playing, but instead of Ben, it will be Skullface.
Fight difficult for you, but he does not miss a single shot. Again, showing why he had that reputation, showing the kind of technical ability he brings to these fights.
And maybe if we're being like overcritical, Dongy maybe gets a little bit or a little antsy because the kill comes out. It's just like, is he right in front of me?
Yeah.
So he tries to peek it, but the rotation hadn't happened yet because of how clean the first kill was from Oki. It's great stuff from him.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely spot on. You're maybe trying to third-party this situation, right? You could see that he didn't want to shoot first. He was going to let everything unfold in front of him and then go, surprise, I'll clean this all. No, you just got absolutely smoked by Oki on a heater. And again, I repeat, I go back to that play that he made on that rooftop. If he falls there, which I think if he had fallen, we'd have been like, oh yeah, fair enough. You've been third-partied at the end of a gunfight, fair enough, whatever. But the fact that he snaps on there keeps that streak alive. Again, putting belief into a young man who, I think if you light a fire under him, he's a real powerhouse.
And I think overall, this sparks a conversation that's going to transition from what, you know, the conversation has been around Big Map World Series of Warzone in particular is there is not much of a window when it comes to finishing off a gunfight. You either need to know, I'm in, I can finish this, or this isn't clean, I gotta back off and make sure I deal with the potential of a third, fourth, fifth party when it comes to things in Resurgence. So lots of interesting things already just past the halfway point in our solos drop as Taylor and the rest of the desk break everything down for us.
Well, there it is. The first introduction of Group C has concluded, and that would be the last game for Group A, right? They get all 4 of them done. Group B still has to get 2 more themselves, but that was 2 quick games, as we've already seen right from the first iteration where Group A versus B. But the big thing here is not necessarily the most dominant player, but at least the most dominant when it came to our final game was Oki taking the win.
And he, you know, he comes in second place all the way back in game number 2.
That's
Oki's been playing fantastic. It all comes down to, you know, Enigma early on, giving a big shout to Oki and Awiz, their whole team just coming up. They've been playing fantastic lately, and I think that to see Oki doing it over the course of not just one group, but 2
very
groups,
different because this is
that
solos.
consistency here that, you know, even with new players in the lobby, he's still here to play.
Yep.
And another top 3 finish, a top 2 finishes. That's amazing.
Amazing indeed.
Yeah, I was going to say I could add a point to that too, because like with Oki, he's just one of those players that would thrive in this setting, because you remember him playing with FIFA Kill when he played with FIFA and Wiz, and like it was just this problem where, okay, you see Wiz and Oki going out, okay, gotta reel the boys back in, but for this setting for Oki, like he can just literally thrive, pick up a lot of those eliminations, and like, I mean, you just saw it right there. He's looking pretty scary.
And I mean, to see the top third too, 10x in there as well from Omid, I mean, we didn't really talk much about Omid coming into this one, but it's a huge huge tournament for these players, especially under the brand of Omit. You know, players who are kind of left out of the rest, players who don't really have a home. That's the brand of Omit. And, you know, they separate into the World Series of Warzone. They find their struggles. They come back together for EWC. And now to see 10X in top 3, that is really big.
It is big. 10X, you know, was in a bad position, though. He was by 10s, and he gets sniped out from Zidongi, who takes second place. So good on him for doing so. Zidongi, ringing a bell for you anyways, right? Coming out from the fantasy team?
I mean, you know, Dongi hasn't really been playing the best today. I know that, especially in games 1 and 2. But it's nice to see him get a top 2 finish here. Tough spot being on the low ground. We know from the movies how the low ground goes, but you know, for Dongi here, it doesn't work out either.
Doesn't work out, but second place. He'll take that to the bank. That's okay, and at least show some new life. As we look through the highlights, you have to respect, though, some new positioning. And before we get into positioning, I want to talk about the regain. Regaining is so important.
Music is too loud.
Resurgence. You're bound to die at least a couple of times. So whenever you go to drop in again, Dream, what are you doing?
So if let's just use this scenario. We're playing, right? What do you guys are used to hearing when you're playing ranked play? Even regain spot, right?
No more music.
The boats. One thing that I noticed that we've seen lurking around the boats is Pasuka, right?
Yep.
So you got some good players lurking around the boats, but what's great about it is like you're thinking, all right, I can just regain here, but there's a good player with a loadout just come and smash you. Like he had 10 eliminations, so that you got to figure maybe these boats for some of these good players can be a good spot to utilize to just pick up players as they're trying to regain in.
Yeah.
Could be. You know, boats, it's interesting because they're on the outside, so you think they're relatively safe, and it could be a regain spot. But you were saying, though, there were some top players actually hanging out around those boats looking for those looking to go for the regain. So that makes things a little bit scary, too, because you never know who you're going to be landing on. And weirdly enough, we've been seeing a lot of people try to regain in the water.
Yeah, in the water, you saw Jays kind of picking them apart in the last game.
We
see the boats now
like
punishing them over to Patsuka and the rest of Team Vitality. It was the same thing with Schmidt back in our first set of games as well, why he drops that 14-kill game. It's players taking advantage of other players putting themselves in bad situations, and there's no worse situation than when you're just respawning back into Resurgence.
Yeah, and as we just saw there, too, Vision's just completely, like, dominating every single level of Prison.
Yes.
And I mean, like, look at how many eliminations he has. But the great thing about Prison is you can escape and recover so quickly and dodge so fast. So I mean, even for Oki, who, again, just picking up kills on the high ground over here on the opposite side, rotating from Living. But either way, like, the levels of this like type of competitive play, you have to be able to get out fast.
Just deleted Dongi.
I mean, for
off
Prison,
the face
that's
of
just
the earth.
a really key spot. Visions, he picked up a lot of eliminations, possibly our lobby leaderboard in like for elims or top per map.
Well, I mean, in general, I think he picks up the most, if I'm not mistaken.
It was the kill record,
yeah.
15.
Kill record. There you go.
He beat Smith out from that first 2 games. We thought that, you know, maybe Z Schmidt comes out here and he's just at the top with Twisted Minds. And then, you know, seeing Visions come out here for Guild. I'm sure, you know, Brody, he's not with us right now on the desk, but I'm sure he's just all giddy seeing his
team. He's with
team.
the cat.
Exactly. He's with the cat. Just happy to see Guild doing well.
Vision, man. He was at 14 very early on. I think he finishes with 15. He might have got maybe one more, but either way, he picks up the elimination lead. As far as the 4 games we've seen today, so will we hit 20? See, that's the big thing. 20 is always a magical number. And whenever I'm watching, you know, streamers play or competitors compete, it's like 20 on Rebirth. Can they hit it? And in fact, sometimes they're like, hey, other players back off. Don't pick up that final one because I'm at 19 and I'm going for 20. So you're hoping at least your teammates are on board with that, not feeling a bit stingy themselves. But Breadman, first introduction in here. He comes in. We talk about his sniping abilities. What did we notice from him in Game 4?
I mean, I was really impressed with him in game number 3 when he was playing very dynamic with the sniper. He was moving around. You even saw him have a really good moment versus Shifty where he's kind of playing that space, forcing Shifty to get aggressive onto him. But in game number 2, you know, it's very traditional to see the snipers get posted up and towards a high ground position like the water tower, and you hope that it's going to net you a lot of kills. But for Breadman, it seemed like it wasn't really in his favor with everybody trying to take him down. I'm going to be really curious to see the leaderboard. Him alone. It really comes down to you hitting those shots. And I know, you know, everybody in their interviews were saying they take Breadman over Huskers when it comes down to those snipers. But
Dang,
it just
Huskers
doesn't
is catching
seem like
so many
it is going to
strays
net you the
today.
amount of kills that's going to shoot you up the leaderboard like you were hoping to.
Yeah, I know Danjo ended up asking me, like, Huskers or Breadman. I'm like, oh, it has to be Breadman as my top sniper
Bucket
out
hat
there.
B.
Bucket Hat is going big, baby. But I will say this, Breadman, we had a chance to actually interview him. Let's hear what Breadman had to say.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Esports World Cup here in Riyadh. I am Enigma, and today we're doing interviews, and I am joined by one of the best players in the world, and that is Breadman. How are you doing today?
I'm feeling amazing, bro. I'm feeling amazing. I'm just happy to be here.
He looks so different with short hair. I can barely recognize him.
I like how it's spread out. You know, I feel like we've got time to kind of get nice and nestled in and get used to everything. But being on the keys, like, it's all about the game time. So I'm really excited to just get my equipment in there and just start practicing.
I mean, you brought it up straight away. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Mouse and keyboard. Does it put you at a disadvantage?
For my playstyle, no. But like a player like Huskers, for example, he plays like he's on the controller, which just makes him, he's just different. Like no other player's doing that. I believe we may be one of the only 2 mouse and keyboard players here, which is crazy, but I try not to think about it like that. Like, you know.
I know, he literally does look so young.
You spoke about your playstyle a little bit there, and I respect you saying that it's on you. Let's face it, that's not always the opinion that someone takes. But while we're talking a little bit about how you play, snipers. We know that at the minute they're a bit controversial, whether or not they're in, they're out. What's your opinion? Should one-shot snipers be in this?
I think so. I mean, for me personally, regardless of the meta, I've been using snipers for the last 4 years competitively. Even back to the first Twitch Rivals event, I used the Kar 98, and you know, 4 years later, we're using the same Kar 98 kind of, which is pretty dope. But no, I mean, I feel like there is some skill involved with like 3-2-1-ing, where like, you know, I'll snipe someone and then Joe, for example, could tag him and they go down. But I think that people are just scared of snipers because of Warzone 2, where the movement was so slow and
Saw a tweet saying, I don't know about you guys, but I get shot like 2 or 3 times in a full afternoon of games. If you're getting sniped regularly, maybe it's a you problem.
Yeah.
So is that something that, you know, you come into this, you're thinking, well, look, you just got to get out of the way of what I'm shooting at?
It is a me problem, I guess.
That was more specifically for pubs, and like, I do feel like, personally, since I snipe, I don't get sniped much because I'm just sniping the people sniping at me. But if you're running around with an AR, I get sniped all the time.
Okay.
But like, yeah, I was kind of lying a little bit when I'm like, dude, in 8 hours, I'm not getting sniped. Trust me, I am, bro. And I'm like, dude, we got to get these cars out of the game. But for competitive, since they're not one-shotting, I think that the car is one of the best like competitive snipers we've had, because you can get aggressive with it. You see a lot of controller players picking it up. Like Joe is a big flex with it. We'll both snipe sometimes, especially on rebirths. So I think that the car fits into the meta very well.
Do you think you're one of the best players in the game?
I honestly don't ever think about it. I'm not gonna lie, because I feel like if I, you know, was in my head like that, like a big ego, I feel like I'd start doing worse. You know?
Okay.
I do think I'm one of the best mouse and keyboard players, and that's only because there's not many. But like, I try not to think about stuff like that, because I just feel like it'll make me worse.
Okay, fair enough. So it's not something that you put onto you, but do you have a person that you look to in the space right now and think, best player in the world?
Biffle, for sure. I mean, Biffle, Shifty, or Soka, they're all the best.
I'm going to get you to pick one. No fence sitting.
Shifty. Okay, I'll go Shifty. But I do think that Biffle has been the most consistent, obviously, over the last 4 years.
Yeah.
There was a time when I got into competitive a bit late in 2021, and obviously Warzone came out in 2020. And so, I mean, he was already dominating it back then. And then there was a big thing with, you know, people thinking Shifty was hacking. And then Soka, I played one of the first tourneys that Soka ever played. I played with him, and we did awful. I was like, dude, he's not that good. But no, he is that good. I promise you. It was just, you know, it was a little slow start. But I'd go Shifty finally.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, I
would agree that out of the 3 that he mentioned, that Shifty would probably be my pick as well.
Big Breadman. Okay, good to hear from him. The snipers are out, but where'd the hair go?
Listen, I gotta say, one of the questions. Oh, hold on.
Hello.
Good morning. Nice of you to join us.
Welcome in.
Listen.
One of the questions about Breadman, though, I will say, I gotta say. All right, listen.
Let's hear it.
Mouse and keyboard. That was one of the questions. Like, would he be affected, like, playing against other controller players? But he said, no, I don't think about stuff like that.
Well, it's when you get him in a high position, right? I mean, he was in the tower for like the longest time in that game. I'm not surprised he's getting kills. You get a player like that and keyboard and mouse. Look, listen, I'll be honest with you guys. Whenever I play a keyboard and mouse player on online COD, I get pretty ragey. If I went up against Breadman in that position, it's a cheat code. It's cheating. Let's be honest. Let's call it for what it is, guys. It's much better. Keyboard and mouse players, they're insane. Breadman, though, I think we'll give him a pass. He's so good. I'm not gonna say it's a cheat code at all. I see the way I hold shift plays mouse and keyboard in Warzone.
That's not keyboard and mouse. That's I hold shift. Okay, that's him.
Don't diss the Italian stallion, all right?
Italian Mean Stallion, I hope. Wow. Okay, the ultimate gas coming out, and then the ultimate roast.
I know, like, is this just like a stray cat that entered the building? Like, or is it somebody's actual cat that they brought to work? I have so many questions.
Probably trying to pet the cat that we saw a little bit earlier.
I was on the hunt. I couldn't find it. I was searching around.
Honestly, you was the one that originally found it, right? You found the cat.
Puckett had the cat too. The cat's just been all over the place.
It's been all over the place. And speaking of being all over the place, we were all over the place yesterday, but we also had our crew go out, walk the boulevard. Let's see what's out there.
What's up? It's Puckett outside, and as you can see, the sun is down. The city of Riyadh is cooling off.
The sun is out.
Well, they got some awesome misters for you. I feel like I'm at an amusement park, and all of this built in the last 6 months. It's absolutely incredible. As you can see, we've got the Amazon Arena. We've got a brand new, what is this, diner? Deli? Blacktop. No way. Black Tap. That is one of my favorite places in New York City. If you need a milkshake, hit that spot up right now. But of course, it's all about the games here in Riyadh. We've got everyone testing their might. You can win some serious cash over here, but the players inside, they know what's on the line. $1 million for our Warzone competitors. I don't expect anyone to come out and enjoy the Boulevard yet tonight, but by the end of this weekend, you know we could be partying on these streets. Pretty awesome stuff. All live from Riyadh. This is the Esports World Cup.
Man, I tell you what, yesterday when we were walking the Boulevard, I was absolutely blown away. It's just how incredible it was. So much money's been put into it, but also attention to detail. You've got American brands, you've got European brand, you got Tim Hortons, Canadian, something like that.
Tim Hortons?
I'm out for that.
There's everything out there, and I tell you what, it has been such a good experience. Puckett got to experience it himself. Hopefully he comes back and does his job, though. It doesn't stay out there too long. He's talking about partying and all of that, but maybe we'll get a chance to go visit.
Maybe he's brought the cat.
Maybe he is.
He's definitely not coming back if he's there.
Maybe that's a fact. Maybe he's the cat whisperer. Well,
Why
hey, we
is there
do have a good
on my
interview.
TL?
Levi, who ended up winning game number 1 of the next group, right? Group A through C. We had Barney actually sit down and have a chat with Levi. Let's hear what they had to say.
Welcome back to the main stage where I am joined by Levi from Na'Vi. An incredible performance so far in today's matches. Obviously, there's plenty more to go. But today, Levi, is kind of about showcasing your individual ability, right? So how are you feeling after your 4 matches?
That was fun. That was really fun to go out there and get a win. It was just awesome, yeah. Solos is really fun, yeah.
So speaking of your win, to be honest, listening to the guys on the desk, the analysts, they were all talking about it. It was a really smart way to win. You held back, you didn't push Breadman, and you kind of waited until you could get height to close out the match. Is that kind of the plan? Was it to hold back?
As soon as I seen those 3 people up, including me, like me as the third, you can never initiate. So I'm just baiting, and as soon as I see them fighting, I'm like, all right, I gotta go in now. That's all it is to it, yeah.
And now, finally just being here, enjoying this event and embracing everything that's around us. How did it feel at the top of the show to hear your name called out? You get to walk out onto the stage, and not only that, representing Na'Vi as well.
No, it's awesome. This whole experience has been amazing. I just want to thank EWC and Na'Vi for having us. This thing is unreal. This is an event like nothing other before, honestly. This is unreal.
We were also speaking a little bit off camera, weren't we, just about how the real work begins tomorrow. The trios is really going to be where you put your foot down. How are you feeling about the trios going into tomorrow? Now that you've got reps on the stage, is there that confidence now?
Yeah, 100%. It was cool to get a win and all, but it's all about the bigger picture. Tomorrow's when it starts to matter. It was fun. It was fun and it was cool, but tomorrow's when it counts. Yeah.
Levi, I'm really excited to see what you guys bring to the table throughout the rest of the week. Thank you so much for joining me in this interview. Best of luck, man. All right, for now, we're going to go back to the studio so we can carry on the rest of the show, but we've got 2 more maps to go, and it's going to get spicy. See you in a bit.
Gonna get spicy indeed, Barney, and it's already been spicy today. That was Levi talking out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one big thing that Levi was kind of talking about was he's waiting for those trios days. Solos has been a little bit tough for Na'Vi. Levi gets the win, but other than that, it's been a little bit of a struggle for the rest of the team. But we know that Zeppa and Limax, they have previous experience playing together on teams even outside of Warzone in the multiplayer circuit. So to see that, they're struggling here, I'm sure it's no worry for them for when they do come together in the trios tomorrow.
Trios tomorrow is going to be interesting because I expect everybody to be warm up. That litmus test is now completed, but does it affect you, right? So let's actually go to you, Infinity, because does it affect you if you have a bad solo day? Is it like you go into group play and you're like, that's just a bad cloud hanging over you?
See, I think it depends who you are, right? I think we were talking about Falcons maybe having not such a good start to the day. I don't think they're going to care. Like, I'll be straight up honest about it. I think Falcons will be fine. They're the kind of roster that will bounce back.
Sure.
But if you're one of those teams that's coming in here as the lower seeded teams, right? You know, teams from international areas where maybe you're trying to prove yourself here and you don't have that good set of day number 1 games. I think that is a situation where, yeah, all right, that does start to affect you. And I think that's the difference to me. I think it's going to be the bigger teams. Nah, you'll be fine. The smaller teams, you know, the ones that maybe are the underdogs in this situation, I think those are the ones where maybe it might get in their heads a little bit.
Or it's just, you know, the Destroys who don't even want to play the solo days.
Oh, yeah. Destroy is, you know, not here.
Well, I think he's a little bit under the weather, but the good news is his brother, though, did play. And I'll tell you what, you know, again, I go back to just a couple days ago, you know, seeing them, I think, coming for breakfast or whatever, and I was like, you know, oh, who's this? Oh, it's my brother. He comes to pretty much all my events if he can, right? He's one of his biggest supporters.
That's
and
awesome.
I know it is awesome, and it means a lot for Jay, given the fact that he's a competitor himself. He's a shot hitter. We saw that. He wins game number 2 of the day and does so in a phenomenal way, taking on Z-Smith, who had been absolutely phenomenal up until that point, right? Ultimately getting first place at least after we see the leaderboard after game number 2. So you got to give him credit where credit is due.
Yeah, I was going to say you have to. And I mean, I think about Destroy back in like COD 4 remastered days, playing from his closet.
Wow.
Like, this guy has evolved so much. And I mean, right? And I mean, he's always got that energy, that hype. And I mean, you know, shout out Destroy. I hope he feels better. Maybe we'll see him come back in and pop off in trios. But for his squad, though, I mean, even just being able to qualify, getting 7th, and Raul, right? Raul had a lot of eliminations on that last map. And I mean, like, you think about that and that energy just from Jay, Destroy's got to be proud. And that momentum, a heavy momentum team, it's got to carry over to groups.
Well, I'm personally proud of one player. His name is Visions, who ended up picking up 15 eliminations, rocking prison. Hey, how far could he have went if he didn't end up going down? That's the question I have. Let's go to the STC Arena with Malash, who's talking to Visions.
Welcome back, everybody, to the STC Arena here live from Riyadh at the Esports World Cup. With me is Vision, our victor here from Guild, and we have a bit of a chat because you are insane. Like, we'll talk about map 4 in a sec, but still, first 3 maps, 18 kills. Guide me through what's going on.
In the beginning, I just took it a little bit slow, you know, like I was just like, how do you explain that? I mean, I was just like taking it slow into prison, like getting a few kills, but then like I got a little bit tactically, yeah, exactly.
You know, going in from map 3 to 4, now you popped off 15 kills. Like, did things just line up for you, or was there more strategy in your mind for it?
What I wanted to say in the beginning was that I just took it a little bit slowly. I just tried to get a little bit of kills, just see where people are landing, of course. And then the last game, I just knew what was going on. I knew I didn't get contested. I knew there was no one landing on me. So I was fine for the last game. I knew how I had to play it. I was just sitting in bottom prison the whole game, just holding it on lockdown. Everyone that came in had no chance. Yeah, what do you want me to say?
And did excellently, to say the least. Now, what do you think were those stumbling blocks in the first 3 games? Did you just needed to get into the vibe of it? Or how was it?
Yes, I needed to get a little bit in the vibe. Like, I just needed a little bit of the LAN feeling, like the feeling of having people in front of you and also having people watch you back home.
Hello, how are you?
But
sorry, guys,
the last game, it just everything fell into
lunch
pieces.
for my grandpa.
It clicked. You have a huge stage. You got people watching in here and at home. It adds extra stress to it. But it didn't matter because you came out at number 1. So that's pretty impressive. But now the focus is on trios tomorrow. What do you feel about that?
Not white AR.
I feel like solos is
on
something completely different. Solos, you can get killed from behind in a second and you don't even know where it's coming from. Tomorrow it's all about team play, and I think team play we have that plenty, so we have that on lockdown for tomorrow.
I mean, if you can do kills and get team play, that's a bonus.
I feel like at least I don't get killed from behind. My teammate has my back, no? Yeah.
There you go. You can rely on your teammates. That's what we got from Guild. Thank you very much, Vision, and congratulations again on the win. Back to the studio.
No problem,
Big for
no
that
problem.
Malash has Vision saying, hey, you can rely on your teammates, but at least when it comes to solos, he can rely on himself, Infinity.
Yeah, absolutely he
Yes,
can.
what
We
Pale
were
put
looking
in
to
the
see
chat.
this Vision come and play today, and we absolutely saw it there in that game number 4. And again, context for those of you guys who aren't aware, Vision has been on this path, right? This kind of bounce back, if you will, from being dropped at the end of the 2023 season by Dukies and Lennon. Controversially so, because a lot of people put stock into Vision.
Yep.
He's come into this season, and what? I mean, he's done insanely well. He just won European Regionals, and now we're seeing him here in the Esports World Cup doing stuff like this.
Yeah, match ranking, right? This comes from that match where he pops off with 15 eliminations. Now, notice he sits there with 21 points. The big thing, he doesn't get the win. That was actually Oki Seymour. However, Vision, because his 15 elims and that multiplier, he still was able to secure first place for game number 4.
Yeah, it's nice to get the win and all, but it's how long have we been talking about this in Warzone, especially considering those multipliers are so big. It does have impact if you're getting kills and or not. I mean, placement sometimes it's just not enough.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see that Vision is finding that value. Like you said, he has a lot of players investing into him, and for him himself to be showing that on his own, when he doesn't need to be anchored down by his other 2 players, when he doesn't have to have that system in place that they're so used to, he can fly on the map, he can play through prison, he can feel safe to do what he does best, and that's just kill people. It's what's going to be bringing this guild team into that powerhouse spot that Brody was talking about earlier.
Yeah, not to mention, I mean, he did state, right? He was uncontested. He kind of played slow a little bit. It seems like they, like, as we mentioned, have a plan, right? Implementing that plan, but being able to utilize it is important. For Visions, though, I mean, working around prison, you guys know how easy it can be to pick up eliminations, but how quickly you can get out of dodge.
Well, I was looking at those replays, right? I mean, it's like Vision in prison. You were talking about the level. Well, we have been discussing the levels of prison, right? You got the rooftop, which typically is where everybody wants to be, right? But then you also have the stairs, you've got the middle, and then you have the lower portion, which is always scrappy, especially late game, especially if that's where zone's going. Everybody's rushing into the prison cells, trying to get up top, and you've got to try and protect that. Those levels make a difference, and I got to say, Vision was masterfully holding it down. We take a look at our overall leaderboard. We get to see who's leading the charge now, and it is, in fact, Vision.
Oh, wow. Okay, so this is,
By the way, take
this
note.
is so good.
Okay, take note, Seymour.
This is good.
33 total eliminations.
Needs Skull to go crazy in the second half here.
44.8 points, leading the top. Oki just underneath them, where we talked about Oki having 2 big finishes so far on the day. It drops down those Twisted Mind players all the way to 5th and 6th.
Hey, remember that Soka has played 4 games, and Shifty has only played 2
my man Doggy in
games.
7th place. He's up there too.
Doggy's making it happen. We go down the list a bit. I do see Huskers making a little bit of an attempt going up. Obviously, this is page number 2. War is sitting in 22nd at the moment. Still looking through, you know, a couple of familiar faces, a lot of familiar faces really being down there. But Dream, at the end of the day, it is solos. There's still 2 more games to go.
I don't know
Not
yet,
for
Michael.
Group A, though. Right now, it's all
Fingers
about
crossed.
Group B and Group C to kind of finish it off.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, one name I was surprised to not see up there that we normally see that always is on the top, at least in terms of eliminations and lands, is Biffle.
Biffle, yeah. Biffle is one of those guys that you would expect to be performing very well, but he has been getting into a little bit of tussle with the muscle, right? We're talking Team Falcons taking each other down, okay? It seems like you look at it, right, and it's like, dude, how many Falcons members can take down other Falcons members? It's almost like they're intentionally doing it just to have a little bit of fun because they're not worried about...
They're nerfing themselves.
They're nerfing themselves. But again, they're like, dude, it's time to prove that I'm one of the best out there. We've got an interview on stage with Malash. Let's hear what one of the players had to say.
can't wait to see it on stage. Of course, so far you are number 2 in total with 34.6 points. There you go. Not too bad. Thank you very much, Oki, for joining us. For those, back to the studio.
And thank you for that, Milage. Oki, the winner of the last game we just watched, game number 4. Also, give him his flowers where flowers are due. Second place in game number 2. Nice to hear from Oki. Curious to hear more of that surgery story, though. But the Esports World Cup Call of Duty Warzone will continue when we come back. Don't go anywhere.
In 2 minutes. No, there's no women competing. You haven't really missed all that much so far. Right now it's just solos. And everybody's working like for seeding of their team right now, so you're not really missing all that much. I think like the more like interesting things are going to be happening not tomorrow, but after tomorrow. So, not too much has been missed. If you were going to miss, today would have been the day to miss for sure. All right, back in 7 seconds. This is your E legacy. Wow.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Esports World Cup Call of Duty Warzone. 4 games down, 2 more to go. And in fact, we're about to reintroduce Group B to play C to finish off the night, the end of solos before we join back into group play tomorrow. Hey, let's bring in our casters. I'm excited to get this game going, so let's get it going for the final 2 games of the day.
Yeah, we have to have a talk, all right, friends? Now, Seymour, I'm not going to let you get away with just throwing strays at me while we're on break and stuff. And normally I would be tight about something like that, but I don't know if things get more tight than your pants. So here we go. We've got groups B and C. You like that one, didn't you? To get things finished off here. And I think the big news is, again, Vision sets the bar. He's got top kills, and of course his averages are incredible. That's got to be the new metric for us to look at.
Yeah, he's absolutely blowing everything out of the water. Average kills across the entire set of players that we have here is 4.6 4.1 kills per map. He is bringing in over 13 kills per map. That is just setting a ridiculous bar that so many people have to chase. There are, of course, people here that have only played 2 games. They're warming up into this, and they got to figure out a couple more things through this. We've got a couple of people to talk about in terms of like how they're performing, but Vision is the star man at this moment.
Absolutely the case. And, you know, other side of that is not just the total kills, but the score that he brings to his team for the side of Guild Esports. 44 points, 44.8 for being specific, which is pretty much leaps and bounds ahead of the majority of everyone else who finished her Group A, with the only exception actually being Oki, who just won that last map. So there is this balance all of a sudden of needing to talk about where do we want to see the total kills versus how do you play for placement. We've seen both sides. Vision getting a lot of kills, Oki doing great with placement.
No, 100%, and I think the desk there did a great job of breaking that down on how, you know, some of these players are going out there and picking up big kills, sure, but then they're getting eliminated in, like, you know, the mid-20s. It's just not enough to really make that multiplier count. Whereas, you know, Oki speaks there a bit about how once he picked up a certain amount of kills, he decided to play a certain way and perhaps played more patiently, focus more on those end-game power positions, and that's exactly what you got to be doing. You want at least that 1.7, I feel, that multiplier to come on through that top 5 positioning. 2 times, of course, would be a huge bonus, but I feel like if you're sitting outside that top 5 pretty much every game, you're just not picking up the score that your squad requires.
So outside of the players from Group A, keeping an eye on players that still have to finish off these last 2 games, I think the easy transition is to talk about Smith. You know, he's still sitting near the top of the leaderboard overall, 22 total kills, and the squad is looking like it very well may pull the top overall seed for Twisted Minds. They're currently at the top of the leaderboard at 77.2, and with Smith still able to play and Knight still warming up, it feels like Twisted Minds are going to be our heavy favorite to try to finish off this solo stage.
No, 100%. I mean, Smith nearly triple the average.
Oh my gosh, we're getting eaten by the screen.
Knight is above it despite the fact that
overall rankings, Fnatic is in 6th. Yay, that's so good.
Coming into this, maybe just a little bit of warming up.
All right, we got to make sure that's Ben right now isn't playing, and Ben is leading the charge right now for Fnatic. So we need Eddie to do good, which he already has the kill. We need Skull to do good.
2 games to play, and in this is Biffle. So if you're really trying to track down the quote-unquote tournament favorites, keep your eye on the kill feed for those 2 names as we're dealing with our early drop situations.
Not even going to get the kill for that because that guy's going to get his self-revive off
the residential district.
That's tragic.
Boys here seeing a fair lion's share of gunfights. Castillo has managed to get it down, but not a kill. And well,
how did she down Shifty?
On off, give himself a bit of high ground gas, potentially forcing him into that spot. But whoever he did down below has managed to pick themselves
just killed
back
Believe.
on up.
That's his teammate.
Potential company from a 4th player.
Joe is full wiped. Joe is the first one to be wiped.
Things to consider right now. It looks like it might have been Biffle that Castillo brought down.
I think so, because it not is just Biffle.
Eddie, all of Eddie's kills is Tekka right now.
Dropped on the other side of Living Quarters as well. So, you know, again, maybe an opportunity where they talk to us, but like, hey, you drop on one side, I drop on the other, and we just rotate around the island in counterclockwise form. So that could be a part of the strategy to try to get Falcons back in the running here.
Yes. Now, I know there's going to be people asking about all of that and like, how far can you go with the strategy? There is, you know, you can't collude. You can't sit there and be like, okay, you do this, you do that. If you and me are on the same team, brother, I'm going over here,
Eddie
you go over there if we see each other.
Yeah, exactly the case. See if the gloves get thrown or not. As the kill feed gets super active at the moment. Patsuka, we got to remember, had a great start when he was playing over, especially through the showers in our last game. Found a lot of kills, just could not quite crap into that top 5. So now it's just about, again,
died as well.
Kills, but all of a sudden,
not out
crack
yet.
into that top 5. Get yourself that big multiplier.
Well, I think Vitality start off slow. I spoke about them at the top of the show. They are my prediction for the event. I think that the great thing for them currently is that Engson got off to a really slow start. If anyone wants to start Slayer on this lineup, it is that guy. He impresses so much, especially in like 1v3, 1v2 situations. He seems to come out on top in a ridiculous amount of them. So when odds are stacked against him, when he goes back against the wall, he goes big. Can he put that on here through the rest of this and get decided?
Dead chat, unfortunately.
And so far, top 5, because Stevo did great.
I gotta hope that Skull goes
good
crazy.
First 4 games. He finds himself, I think, 20 total kills. So again, he meets the metric in terms of how do you crack into not just the top 10, but possibly being a top overall seed as we look towards the trio group stage to continue
within the first 5 players.
So lots of things to kind of keep our eye on here. Knight did get knocked down, so I know the Falcons fans inside the venue are probably not going to be very happy about that, but still plenty of time to come through. And interestingly enough, how about it? We swap over to London, who does find one of our contenders for top overall leaders, as all of a sudden Smith has to find his way back into the game.
Yeah, that'll feel good for Lennon. A big play to pick up your first kill on through this. Lennon in particular, it feels like one of those kind of players who vibes well once his confidence gets flowing, once he gets going. He's one of those players that you know, you just want to see on that.
I don't even think that Skull got to kill this game.
A different level, and we're just going to get an
I know Eddie got
overview there of Method 6. Interesting conversation around him. He's an ex-multiplayer player, then came over to play Warzone. He was the part of the top Spanish duo for a long time. Then he actually got a job offer to coach the Miami Heretics in the CDL. Goes over and works with them for a while, but gets an invite to the Esports World Cup, and of course reunites with his favorite Spanish duo.
Yeah, it's just, there's something about the Spanish community where they bond together in a lot of ways.
So this is day one of the tournament. It's a 4-day tournament.
There was a lot of question on what they were going to do. They picked up a 5-man
solos.
roster for the CDL. And they trusted Method 6 to try to
everybody
put it together.
is against
but he's been
everybody.
able to kind of balance, juggle a little bit between both
42
spaces
players.
and
It's
still putting
two
together a
groups
pretty decent
of
performance here, all things told.
Players.
And again, I've asked you before if you were surprised that
like
man
killing
was
your
sitting on top of a
teammate.
tower with a sniper rifle. I think
But all
that
of
you
the
hadn't been
points,
watching Warzone.
all
So
of
he finds
the
himself up
points
top
that
again,
you get
and
end
you
up
track back over to
accumulating
Spit, who
together.
has 2 kills off of
for
his
your
recent
team.
respawn. Just going to try to get the cash back up and get himself back into fighting form.
Yeah, absolutely. Going back to the Breadman conversation, by the way, although yes, it is unsurprising, I wonder if part of that comes into
So, like,
strategy,
example,
thinking
like,
big picture.
Shifty
in
could
this
kill
tournament.
Hisoka,
You know, okay, how do I feel
but
around
Shifty
the
and
watch tower?
Hisoka's
There's a couple of
points
things
all
that
go
I'm
to the
gonna
same
discuss
place
throughout
at the end.
And when we start talking group stages and we start talking about those trios, is he going to feel that bit more comfortable than some of the people who are currently playing as the solo, as picking up the points for their seeding?
And for Cloud9 in particular, speaking on
Morning
Breadman's
from
squad,
Canada. Oh my
Thorin Jace is
gosh,
a player that was in Group A.
good afternoon from
He
Canada.
found 19 total kills. So again, he's right around the good metric. He's right in the conversation. So now it's just down to the rest of the team, which includes not just Bread, but also Joe. Those are the 2 that we're keeping our eye on. And Joe did not have a great start here overall. Just 5 total kills and an average
Somebody
placement of
has
34.
streamer mode on.
So he's having a little bit of a tough time here at the solos.
Yeah, the guy.
Somebody's called Matthews.
Movement. We've seen him do many, many wonderful things over the years, but we got to see a little bit better. And
Yeah, it's number 30. Number 30 has streamer mode on.
Sniper action and manages to get the crack onto Bread, but it's going to back him on off. And if he's aware that's Bread, he should be aware he could well get counter-sniped. Breadman rarely backs down from one of these kind of fights. Jackal's going to look to the skies. Bralik coming back in, who he just picked off. Can he land the shot? There's almost like
I
kid in a candy shop situation there.
I don't like coconut water though. Like I like coconut water and smoothies. I don't just drink coconut water.
In the parachute. Knight able to confirm himself another kill as we jump on board with Zeppa, who finds the other Falcon.
Yeah, you ideally wouldn't want to kill your
teammate. That's enough for Biffle to come out.
Because you want your teammate to get as many points as possible.
I mean, it's hard to say. Again, it's so.
Yeah, number 30 has streamer mode on.
The narrative of the tournament.
Who is that?
I think the expectation was that not only are these guys collectively nasty, individually they're disgusting. So we're not quite getting that full yet.
No, you're right. Again, in the long-term things, it could just matter little, but it is concerning at the minute. You know, you look at Hisoka, for example. That is a man who is constantly lighting up kill feeds, constantly doing ridiculous things on the map, and he's currently averaging 3.25 kills per game, which is way below the average and definitely not their standard. And a man who we wanted to see a bit more of there on our screens for a moment, that was Knight, and it's whether or not he can turn into the player that Aiden and Z-Smith pick up, right? He's
Actually,
known
it
as a
might be
Resurgence
Knight.
player, Resurgence content creator. Can he start to deliver through this map?
Yeah. But we are in that top 30, so the first multiplier is currently in play as more squad wipes are continuing to come through here through this second circle. So plenty of time on it. So positioning not a major concern yet, but I say that with some hesitation because Zitz does find himself kind of gatekeeping the edge.
How that person has streamer mode on when they've been playing all day and they didn't have streamer mode on before.
Hasn't really gotten a tally on the players that are kind of on the fringe, though. So this is just about him trying to get into a better spot eventually when Circle 3 forces him to likely have to move deeper into the circle.
Yeah, just trying to get a quick look at that circle. Obviously, we don't have full map view at this point, but it looks like it will be center of map, so potentially around your prison. So a lot of squads then, a lot of these individuals, sorry, are going to start to consider whether or not to break in through bottom prison, trying to get up towards top prison, take control of these areas as players rotate up their hills or around the surrounding pathways, picking up some free kills. But obviously, going to be hotly contested. And speaking of which, Cam's here suspects company nearby. Castillo will be directly underneath. And we do actually get that full map view. And it does look like actually the zone could pull slightly off towards industry there. Or maybe
there's like nobody chem other than the backside.
It's always really an interesting conversation when you're trying to rotate early for a center circle because, let's be honest, like as much as center circle often comes with the pedigree of you're winning, with all the elevation that comes out, it's like, well, you could be center circle, but if you find yourself on the low ground and it moves to the opposite side, you're kind of screwed. So this is all about, I think, at this point, especially with it still being a chance to respawn, what can you find on the fringe? Not a lot of players defaulting for the middle unless you're trying to win things like the entire POI of industry.
Make sure you keep your doggo inside tomorrow, Crank. I mean, she's normally inside anyway, but
around Chem,
the fireworks and stuff, Arthur got so scared.
We'll have plenty of company inside, but
the first time he's ever gotten scared of fireworks ever.
So many players that can contest you from various regions. To try and lock it all down is difficult. Jackal here, by the way, on 210, seems to be having a hell of a time atop prison. And Breadman is just lurking over the other side, potentially more sniper-on-sniper action here. Shift, lightens it up, pulls the trigger,
Bread
does get
has
the
not
crack,
left
again,
this water
Breadman will
tower.
check away.
Oh.
Thermite comes on out over from Smith. Doesn't connect though, so Smith backs on off.
Yeah, Smith's trying to get involved. He's just like, I see you guys. I'm not going to let you have this one-on-one battle forever, which it feels like
thankfully
it's been going on
our
for
fireworks
forever.
don't last very long here, so he wasn't
over to
freaking out
Rodrigo
for
again.
very
Not
long.
bad at all there for him. On
He
5
got
at the moment.
scared. It's
Still
like, oh my
playing on
gosh,
the
this is the
outside of the
first time
circle
that
as
he's
we're
ever
about
even
to see it start
acknowledged
to
the
close on
fireworks, because
in.
usually he just ignores it.
And I think the question here for Breadman is how much more does he find from this position and how long does he want to stay here? This feels like this is his strategy every time he drops into the map is get me on the water tower on the other side of prison and let me just get to work on the scope.
100%. And
why.
that was
Wow.
gorgeous. Finds the back of Clapper's skull. And Clapper will have an opportunity to come back on in, but Breadman will
Has
take
no
a
ammo.
chunk of loot. And actually wants to play courtyard here, not going back up towards his water tower, potentially just considering a reposition. Lines up a couple more shots up towards
Some
the
noise
top.
canceling.
You've got to be careful in tents.
Yeah.
We've just spoken about how important prison could be here. From that rooftop, you are very much so exposed down there.
Yeah, you're not allowed
Respawn
to.
will close, so now every kill
Not allowed to.
will be pretty
What the
final. And
frick?
how about it? Just as soon as it happens, AJ able to take down Trevs and even has the Car 98 out and does see a player at range. Can't quite connect, and this is just about, yeah, let me see what Luca can grab. Reset, no need to get too greedy. Still plenty of circle to play with.
Oh yeah, you're not allowed to
Just trying
use
to
fireworks
quietly
like in
make
your
his way up
backyard here.
somewhere. However, what
It's
I will
only
say,
like
he
the
was on
town
one kill.
that's
It
allowed
doesn't
to light
matter
fireworks.
what you pick up in terms of placement if you find one kill. It's one of those sayings that kind of exists around Warzone. Placements are something, kills are everything.
Yeah.
So he's got to pick that pace up if he's actually going to make an impact in this one. And just a lovely view here over prison, and there's about 6 or 7 players just in camera shot right there.
Yeah, I think just kind of revisiting that conversation, you know, the difference between 1.7 and 2 times multiplier really doesn't feel terribly different, especially considering that this is just for seeding. So I think at the end of the day, especially as we start to get close to our next multiplier boost at the top 15, once you get in there, it's just like, okay, if I can find a kill, great. Otherwise, 1.7 will do more than enough. We don't have to win these lobbies to get good points.
Oh, you're right. Oh, absolutely spot on. Jackal here finally spotting a bit of bother and actually finds Cams, brings the Spaniard down, moves himself up to 11.
We have Canada Day. That's on the first
And then sees
JB,
Breadman yet
so
again, and these two have been
like
trading
the-
blows for a while
life
now.
worth of
Mostly
America.
Jackal onto Breadman, and he'll be frustrated if he doesn't finish that off anytime soon because the circle's actually going to push him towards it, squeezes people in. Knight will pick up AJ and then starts to spot Elo, and oh, he's just not done enough. It's 1 bullet per player, surely. The problem is Elo will be able to use the gas to push Knight forward, and actually Knight disengages, finds himself a different route, and then Tommy actually finds Elo elsewhere, but I think the actual credit might go to Knight.
Hard to say it was a bang-bang play without
Yeah,
question.
I don't really see the point of
But
lighting
regardless
fireworks
of it, tight
myself.
moments, as Knight does,
Might as well just go see the town fireworks if I'm
earlier.
gonna
So
go
it's
see
a
fireworks.
cross, and yep, both players will be wiped off the
Let
table.
alone,
Breadman
it's a
able to finish off
freaking
Knight, who
danger
was down.
hazard.
So pretty much a 1-for-1 martyrdom trade right there between the two of those. The kill fit as we jump back over to Patsuka, who's putting together another nice mid-game, but cannot quite finish off Smith, who's on a bit of a slower game here. 4 kills, but this is where you expect him to start to get active.
Yeah, absolutely. Finally, Circle is going to pull actually downhill. So a lot of players now going to rotate. You're going to see Smith here with potentially a lot of company. Jackal as well is stuck between a rock and a hard place here. Players above, if he heads downhill, there's likely going to be players lying in wait. And he's just trying to look on over. Zix just above him. Limax is already down in position, and Lucanas still hiding in the bottom of camp.
This isn't a comfortable position for Jackal, but he does have the ability to try to play for the circle rotation, but doesn't quite get into the right spot to deal with Zix. So that's now a couple eliminations properly owned up in. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Breadman continuing to play with elevation, this time by way of the chopper, as he's just going to float above this and see Smith right below, starting to get to work, like we mentioned, already on 5 kills with a couple more nearby.
And 1 more kill gets you to that 1.7 times multiplier, that all-important metric that we've been talking about for these individuals. Smith just looking to take this fight and will pick up Lucanas. And again, we spoke about it. Can't be many kills for Lucanas. And he gets himself to this point, doesn't even get the 1.7. Smith snaps yet again, trying to chase after this. Will actually pick up Limax as well, but then takes bullets. And it's actually going to be Tommy who finds him, 3 remaining.
And now it's just down to what does Breadman do? He's still floating around the helicopter up above. And if you're looking at this from Tommy or Stukic's position, who are the last 2 left on the ground, when does he drop on in? Tommy doesn't seem to care. He is the innovator of chopper strategy. So he knows what this is going to look like. Chopper starts to come through. Breadman trying to get himself back in.
No, they're all
but he has
separated
been
blocks.
tagged and has to try to find
It's
a
all
route through the
1v1,
gas. So
like
far,
it's all
so good.
1v1.
And
Like,
Breadman's going to get the down, also has
and there's
the
only
lead
2
over
players
towards
from a
Tommy.
team
Knight
in a
finishes
lobby
the
at a
kill.
time.
Tommy off the reset, up and over! Tommy able to win the 1v1. Breadman gave himself a heck of a look. but end all be all, Tommy gets the read, and again, he's the innovator of helicopter strats. He knows what that's going to look like.
Yeah, knew exactly how to counterplay that. I honestly thought we had ourselves a highlight reel moment out of Brett. I'm not going to lie. He comes in off that chopper. I think he actually positions himself beautifully. And then finish off the gunfights that were ongoing. Finds himself the one, but Tommy just has that little bit too much gunny in him to lose that fight. And we've spoken a bit about Tommy, right? We're at the top of the pre-show. It's been a while since we've probably brought him up, but showing that kind of experience that he has on land to just lock in and finish things off here. And I'm at 5.
And that's the thing is, you know, the conversation around Tommy has been so dynamic. Obviously, the conversations with TBE are long-standing, but even coming into Warzone, he boasted one of the longest competitive veterancies that we could have possibly built, just with his ability to play professionally when the CWL was around.
I still can't get over that trophy
mindset.
looks like
and
in a
when
really
you put him into an
expensive
environment,
frisbee.
he's going to figure out how to best it. A prime example right there.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the reason he was picked up, Juki said in his interview, it's for that experience, but also because Juki's and Lennon look up to him as a hero because of how long he's been around, how much of a role model he has been for so many, especially European players in the scene. And you know, coming out big there, I think that's only going to do wonders for Al-Ula. They weren't necessarily in our top 3 conversation, but they weren't far away. I think, you know, Juki's has been putting on a little bit of a performance, especially that big map 1, of course. Lennon's been kind of putting up the averages, so for Tommy to go big here in 5, I think that lifts them up towards at least that top 5
Eddie's in this.
Yeah, Juki's
he's
is the one
about to
that
play
is
his
done
last
for this
game
squad
here.
from Group A, and he did put together good numbers. Like you mentioned,
who are
the
we
win
cheering for?
obviously kind of
There's a lot of
star-studded
people that
whole
you could be cheering
narrative
for.
point.
We
But,
are cheering
you know, Tommy,
for
the ability to now
Noobs,
turn that into a
Almond,
second one
and
is that may
Skullface.
be our first group
But
that has
there's a
both
little
the
bit of
two
everybody
individuals find
in here.
themselves a Warzone
Destroy's
win.
in
So there is
here.
something to be said about it. As
well,
Tommy
technically
and
it's Destroy's brother.
Lennon are the last 2 remaining for that Al-Ula squad, like you said. That's just sitting right there at that top 5 mark, which is more than fine, I think, if you're looking at that for overall seeding.
Yeah, this is the thing. Obviously, the conversation right now is where are people going to end up with seeding, and you know the thing is, the way it works is seed 1, 2, 3, obviously go into the different groups, and then
Imagine he leaks the code from the single.
If you're sitting in towards the top 5, not only does it give you confidence going in through the rest of the
For
tournament.
finals, do they add points from all 3 days? I'm pretty sure they add points from all 3 of the
Tommy
days.
actually does a lot of damage.
I think.
Redman's landing there, gets the information.
Yeah,
gets
he
the
did,
clear. I love
Wayne.
this from Tommy because he was clearly weak from the fight before, but just buys
Yeah, but
himself
dumb
enough
question,
time.
no such
and then the
thing.
snap
What's the
on
question?
I'm pumped
I
to see
haven't
from
really
his
been
point of
knowing
view
what's going
because,
on
again,
either.
he
I've been
gets the info that Bredman's over the
learning as
top.
I've been going.
I think he only has time to get the 2 plates in. Yeah, barely even gets the first. So that little bit of extra health gets him going. The smoke play for Breadman trying to extend the play, not going to work out. And of course, you got to remember that he was tagged up pretty heavily, floating on in, so he didn't have a chance to reset his health pool at all either. So, ooh, exciting stuff here with just 1 more drop remaining. And I will say, I think Vision is still at the top of the overall kill leaderboard because the next closest would be Spit, and he only had maybe 5-6 kills, and he needs to get, I think, 11 in total to at least match Vision.
Yeah, so there is an opportunity for that to change here still in our final game, but I think you're right. I think it currently goes Vision, then Oki, up and around
it
those
was an
40s.
invite
So,
only.
I mean, that's the
and
bar
they
for your
invited
top players currently.
like certain
I
players.
think of the remaining players that we've got, I think we continue to focus on Smith and how he's been doing, and honestly, just
and apparently, like the invites were based off of last year's World Series
The data
of
is starting to
Warzone,
flesh
so
itself
I don't know.
out. We're 2 nerds that love spreadsheets, so we're going to be digging into that. But before we can continue, we got to go to some bigger nerds that are finding themselves down on the analyst desk.
The way the tight pants comment, well, you'll notice Seymour's no longer up here, so you can thank yourself for that shift. We'll be having some words later. A great game number 5, 1 more game to go, but first we've got to recap because this was a tremendous game without certainty. Tommy, first place is huge for a number of reasons, Infinity.
Going on with that
absolutely.
one caster.
You know, it's
He
funny
keeps
because a lot of the
being
conversation
kicked
around
out.
Al-Ula, right, is Tommy coming in alongside Juki's and Lennon this event. We were talking about what he's going to do for the roster when they actually play as a trio. He's already doing a lot for the roster in the solos. He's given them their second win today. Obviously, we saw Juki's, I think, was game number 2 that he was able to take away. So the fact he's able to get another one, that's going to boost Al-Ula all the way up the standing. This is going to be a really high seed.
Yeah, I mean, it's only solos, right? But I mean, if you have 2 of your members winning the solo games, I mean,
and
that
hope
makes you
the
look
rest of them
stronger
don't
going
have fun.
into group play trios, right? 2 and 3.
Right, and I mean, like, we were kind of just talking behind the scenes, like, just thinking about, like, the confidence level for that trio, like, coming into this for Tommy Juki's. We know that it's just been difficult, but you have got to feel the momentum from that. I mean, 2 wins, and, I mean,
yeah, they did get 2 wins.
Plus,
No, they're not allowed to stream.
Such a good momentum factor for them.
Layers.
How many viewers does the stream have?
We're talking a lot of
So they have a bunch of different streams
help
for a bunch of different languages.
LCQ,
So not
and it's
everybody
gonna
will be
help for, I
watching
think,
the
days
same
2 and 3
stream.
as well. And maybe hopefully at least with this
One
performance,
has
they're not one of the bottom 8 teams right, to not
3.4K
make it to
viewers.
day 4, but
That's
we'll
really
get to that point when
surprising.
we get to it. Great game though overall. You know, Jackal is a player that we have to discuss here. Infinity. Jackal needed a big game. Why and did he get it done?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's funny, right? Because we were talking about, before we got into the game, right, let's start looking at the teams that are not having a good game. Or good day, excuse me. And we were talking about, you know, Huskers and Bralic. They're really low down on the scoreboard. So Jackal needed to come into this today, as well as Bralic, to be fair. He was also in the matchup. And have a good game. Boy, oh boy, did he. He was absolutely slaying out throughout the middle of the game, to the point where he got, I think it was third. Got all the way
I don't know why they
final
can't
zone,
stream.
And it was,
I think
Brad,
it's like a
towards the end. I
PC
don't
thing
think he
because
quite
they only have
expected
one
it. He was
PC,
preoccupied
not
with
two
Tommy in the
PCs.
final zone. Jackal might well have taken the entire thing if Brad hadn't come and ruined it.
Yeah, that's a good point too, because Jackal, you know, being a younger competitor, even with Bralic, a lot of
like I don't think people realize like how crazy World Series of Warzone was. Just off of the fact that there was 150 players there, there was 300 PCs there, not even counting, and we all had 2 monitors.
There at the end.
Do you know how much money they probably spent in just
he could potentially
the
clutch
setups?
the situation, rotating down from prison, but there was so much work that Jackal had to do. He needed smokes to rotate, and he had that, but I believe it was Z-Smith that he came in contact with.
But actually, they cranked the AC,
down Limax right there.
And then you have to think, they have the cameras, they have the production, they have the main stage with like all of the visuals, they have lights. I had lights shining in my face. I remember that.
Had he maybe just rotated back a little bit towards zone.
Man, it's just those little things.
Little
things, those moments.
It was insane.
So
it was literally insane. And I think people forget that like World Series of Warzone was like in terms of like just like a like foundational standpoint, it was absolutely insane that they could pull off something like that.
I was kind of questioning
the
myself,
fact that every single player was streaming their POVs,
I don't know if he necessarily hit it, but at least
that
he
is
got
completely
the final shots
unheard
that were
of.
needed to put Breadman down. Breadman, I mean, that would have been such a big win for him.
Yeah, they were loaning the PCs from ALGS. Everything had ALGS
changing the
stickers on
playstyle
it.
there, right? You know, the Bread that we know and love with the sniper rifle up top on the water tower. It is worth saying that we did see early on in that game, Bread do exactly the same thing, right? For the
I don't even think I can put a number on that. Sharks.
Getting the snipes once again on the water tower.
No, they haven't announced it yet, but I'm assuming they'll announce during LCQ.
Became a little bit untenable. He decided to move, and that's why you see him so late on in the circle. I mean, just the adaptation from Bread is why we still consider him one of the top players here in Warzone.
I was gonna say one of the things I've always loved about Bread is like he's always so cool, calm, collected. Obviously, we can't call him the hair god anymore, but he's still actually, you know what? We still can call him the hair god because it's still looking pretty good. But he's just so calm in these chaotic moments that you will see him thrive. And I mean, he's always said that. Like, I'm not worried about it.
Doing really good.
I'm not worried about it. I'm just doing my thing.
Still blows me away that he's mouse and keyboard. So many players have transferred over towards controller. Very few still play on mouse and keyboard for various reasons, right? Not to get into the whole conversation. I'm not going to start that war. But unbelievable. Breadman, an incredible player. One more game to go. That's it for the solo play. The last chance to get points going into group play. Casters, I'm ready to get it started, so let's get it started for the final game of the day.
Final game of the day.
So glad, Taylor, that we have your permission, because I don't know if we could have managed without it. Nah, I'm ready. Let's do this thing. This is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be able to really cement, of course, who possibly the narrative shifts towards, especially if Falcons continue to not find as many kills as we expect.
I mean, at the minute, it's just a baffling conversation because, again, there's so many conversations about, like, you know, this is solos, this is so different.
That's what I said too, Craig. I was like,
oh, players
watch.
Doing well.
We're all hyped up for this LAN event, and it ends up being online.
Biffle, slightly above that. Shifty, okay, 6.5 is above the average, but it's not exactly standout.
Yeah, and I think the thing, too, is, hey, does this change the perspective of, do individuals now take in different roles? Like, yo, I'm feeling it here on land.
Like,
let me go out and start to slay.
Like,
because,
they're in the
we said,
desert.
Vision
like,
may be one of them guys now.
Probably
all of a sudden. You can say the same thing about Smith, which, let's be honest, we've always said that about Smith. The guy is an absolute slayer, but it is one of those things that, okay, some players are feeling it a little bit more individually, especially.
Crazy. Thank you. I appreciate that so much.
Right? And he was talking about, especially from a European point of view, not being on that ping feels crazy.
Oh, yeah.
They're turning up, and they're involved in these 50-50 gunfights that previously
I guess Malevy was Germany because ALGS is in Germany.
But apparently couple of our star players are not.
Not the finals,
but
somebody told me,
as we
but
start to
like
look
the second
towards
split or
map
something.
6, let's
So
set the stage
I'm going
just a
to
little bit here,
assume
Shift.
that's
Let's
going to
talk
be at the
about
same place
kind
as
of seeding
ALGS since they
position
did
that we're looking
share
at here. Currently standing, we would be looking at the top
system.
3 of Twisted Minds, Guild, and Team Abwiz. And I don't think that will surprise us because of some of the performances that have come on out, but at the top of the show, I really wouldn't have put that 3 up there.
I think Twisted Minds was one that we had a question mark around because Knight coming into the picture as kind of the resurgence specialist, quote unquote, would that actually help this squad be a major contender? Because we know what, of course, what Aiden and Smith bring to the table.
Very expensive frisbee.
But what was Knight going to be able to do? And, well, at the moment, things are
Amsterdam?
looking pretty
Oh, I
darn
would
good for
love
them.
it
On
to
the
be in
other side, of course,
Amsterdam.
Guild. That was my pick, actually, prediction-wise, to win the whole thing. So I'm feeling real saucy right now, getting on your EU banter. Love it.
Yeah, they are a fantastic squad.
A prime for me? Thank you so much for the
Looking forward to
prime.
seeing how they progress through this. It's Wars has been around for some
Appreciate
time.
that
It
very
appears
much.
at the big tournaments, of course, but AJ and Vision, I think there was a couple
You
of
for the
questions about how they would
10
step
bucks.
up to things, but they're doing all right today. But map 6 underway.
Let's go. Eddie got a kill. Let's go, Eddie.
Control center
Eddie's
is up
red
against
chat.
Crims and gets slammed, quite
Wow,
frankly.
Biffle.
Yes, Crims had the high ground. Biffle lands first bullets, though, and I think that kind of sums up just how their afternoon's going.
That is exactly what I was going to say. It's like, regardless of it being solos, that is a 1v1 that if you were to put those 2 players on paper and ask the community who wins it, 99.9% of people, besides Crims, pick Biffle to win that 1v1. Whether it be raw vanilla guns that you
Amsterdam
find
would
on the
be
ground or
so
not, doesn't seem to
good.
make much of a difference in terms
So
of what people
good.
think about what Diaz Biffle can bring to the table. So it just feels like it's been that kind of day so far for those boys.
Yeah, it comes back to that conversation about pressure, about what's expected of them. You know, I asked Biffle in his interviews, does winning this make you a dynasty? And he said it makes them pretty damn close with how good they are. Well, that is a lot of pressure. That is a big title.
I think what it is that Shifty, Biffle, and Soka have so much team
just about
chem.
get out the way, but it takes fall damage
So they
in the
thrive
process.
in a
Cams will check
trio
back to try
setting
and see if he can fight this.
because like they
Both players
feed
lacking
off of each
information
other
on
and
each
play
other right
off
now.
of
Crims
each
are
other
making all
really
the
well.
noise. Cams
Whereas like a
are
solos
That's
is
the
completely
call timing
different.
at its absolute finest as both players go their separate ways.
Because they don't have each other to rely on.
Dealing with a whole
Because
bag
all of
tricks
them
here.
bring something to that
He's gonna
trio
keep
that
looting
the other person
still
needs.
without an extra plate. So any battle could be a punishing one for Cams, and I think he's really respecting the fact that he is not in fighting form. And here's Crims right back in the action, and Cams, yeah, he's out of it. It's like, I don't want anything to do with this.
Yeah, what you said there about the play is very important because Cams now has to back off. He has no choice. Meanwhile, Crims had 18 plates in the back pocket, so he can keep on coming. I just like this play from Crims to hit the buy station for me. You're finding yourself a couple of plates
sitting in the
and trying
water
to
tower
reset the
like he has
situation.
done
Well,
all
Redman,
3
he's
games.
back on his tower.
I mean, if there could have been some sort of like a bet the house that Breadman is going to be playing from high ground, I would have put all the real estate I own, which is not much, on that.
Well,
so,
before the
really
best
smart
solos
stuff
player
from
at the start of
Breadman,
the year
just
was 100%.
casual, just trying to keep the scope hot here.
Was 100% Skullface.
Looking out.
He won every single solo. He won the solo YOLO at World Series of Warzone. Then he won, I think it was like a $25,000 solos tournament. Then he won another solos tournament after that. I think he made like almost 200K in just solo tourneys.
The next gunfighter to work.
Well, Face is Eddie's teammate.
You can see on your mini map, but now just staying up. It's actually shifting. Another player.
But yeah,
you
that's true. What Malemi said is that solos on Resurgence is not at all the same as solos on Big Map.
Can't back shift while this afternoon's gone. Nadag finds Limax inside of prison, and we're still only missing one player. It feels like through the afternoon, this
solos on Resurgence we don't really know because we've never had a solos on Resurgence ever before.
There were 5 team wipes in the first circle. And then all of a sudden,
There's 3
everyone
on a
who
team,
had not
so
died
Alman,
lasted until we had no more respawns remaining. So, yeah, it definitely feels like there's been a little bit of a figuring out period, and especially now that they're in their last
the team
fourth and final
overall is
drops for
doing
all these
decent. I
players
think they're
of,
like 6th
okay,
or something
no
right now,
reason to get too
Captain.
greedy early.
Probably a little
Things
lower
aren't
than
going
that
our
after
way.
the
Take
last
your
game.
time, lose,
But
find yourself a corner to work on, and then eventually maybe catch someone
there's
on
been
rotation,
some
which is
struggle bus
essentially what
games
Shifty
for
has done
sure.
here, just kind of continuing to
But I
play
think he's
around
kind of
Knight.
cooking this game
That will confirm
from the kill feed
elimination for his
anyway.
first so far in this
They haven't
final
showed his POV a single time.
AJ makes noise and baits with it and will actually find a lot of damage onto Zix. And he's trying to
Eddie
cut
here
off
on
the
the right.
rotation, and that is fantastic stuff. That is the AJ that we've been talking about coming into this tournament. Puts himself onto 4 kills.
Thank you so much for the 100 biddies. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank
But the problem is
you.
for him, next circle will squeeze him uphill, and we know that
He's
Shifty
on
is
1
just
right
looking
now.
And he wants this badly. That will play. Okay.
Now?
Just a little hip fire through the door. Okay.
like it.
Why not? telling you, some of the environment in any COD, it just feels like it's made out of paper mache. Smith in a little bit of trouble here.
And he just went down.
Or is he? Yeah, okay. Patsuka nearly threw that one away. Was just the sneeze away from falling, but able to lock in the shots, find the kill, and at least give himself a little bit of breathing room. Intex nearby seems to think that he may be able to come up, and we haven't said his name once yet, so this would be maybe a chance for him to start popping off a little bit.
I haven't seen Skullface die, nor have I seen Skullface get a kill yet.
There are players arriving.
So
finds a portable radar. That could be huge. That'll provide him with the information that he needs. Well, there's a fight going on here on the very outskirts of the map. Rodrigo up against Believe. Rodrigo's forced to back on off, but Believe.
Oh, Knight is full wiped early. That's the surprise.
Smoke and allow himself to rotate.
Nate Dog is wiped
from the beach. And Rodrigo's lost Believe completely here. Who spots who first? Who gets the information? And it will be Believe with a huge pick there. He was
dead again.
Basically back
Rocky
against
with a
the wall,
two-piece.
sat down there on the edge of the map. Should have well and truly been picked off by Rodrigo, but counters that beautifully.
Give me a play-by-play on that.
Again, continuing to find ways in this stage 2-3 circles to find these kills. Smith, other side, just waiting for the proper time to jump on in and confirm. Important to note, Smith's on 2 kills. After we got through 5 total drops, Smith finds himself 3 in total, down from Vision in terms of total kills. So 1 more he'll tie, 2 more he will surpass
about to fight
as our
Relic.
current kill leader.
Which will be
Relic, Tekka.
the story for Smith. He's had himself an up and down 2024. It felt like he got off to a great start, especially on Urzikstan, and then unfortunately had a bout of illness, and it just never seemed to bounce back from there. And well, what it would be to come out here day 1 of the Esports World Cup as the overall kill leader.
And I think the thing about it too is, you know, again, him playing alongside Aiden, they're not playing with their normal third, where they had a really good time at the World Series of Warzone and a finals, top 5. Nothing to scoff at whatsoever, but yeah, being able to really kind of
Thank you so much for the prime and the 8 months. I appreciate that so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Not quite able to find the final shots needed.
Welcome back.
Holger's got plenty of ammo.
Just get a little wider look here at our map.
After this chat, I will have to sign off and go get my dog, but I will be back on.
Again, we're probably expecting a lot of people
to try to find a tourney or something to play in.
Prison landmark.
Make me a little more sad.
Going to find himself a UAV. Actually, has Bagel looking out over him, and sniper bullet whizzes over his head, and I think that's the right play. You do not want to be pushing yourself up a bottleneck into the scope of a sniper.
Skullface is dead. Okay, so Fnatic right now, that's Eddie's team. Fnatic is a 9th.
Patsuka the kill feed again. I'm telling you, man, there's something to keep an eye on here.
As long as they stay top 14, chat, we don't care.
Very well
we want them to remain in the top 14.
If you can keep that up for the rest of the squad when they eventually find themselves in the overall group stage.
They're 10th now.
But I gotta say, things that I'm seeing in the mid-game have looked pretty darn decent. Smith in a little bit of trouble here, trying to climb the ramp back up towards the prison side, but
oh no, Skullface is still alive. He's number 41.
Decently
still alive.
And a lot of action here, actually right over the top of
still alive.
He's got people above him, around him, underneath him, all over the place.
Yeah, and it's an important couple of gunfights here as well, because the next circle is going to squeeze you and force you to rotate, so you want to make sure you're clear.
They're not doing great, but they're not doing awful. Ben did really, really well.
Bagel gets a lot of damage and a crack that doesn't finish it off.
Eddie and Skull have been struggling a little bit, but
himself that extra movement speed. He's up against Lennon. His teammate on teammate. It's Alula against Alula, and Lennon comes out on top.
Lennon!
What do you do though? You've got more company coming on through this backside. It's actually going to be Bagel around the corner, Raul as well, and the young man from the UK looking to lock in a couple of kills.
Yeah, Lennon's in a really good spot to try to finish the thing off. Smoke will be a bit of a deterrent. Bagel's just holding a corner. He's just playing pure COD timing. If someone crosses me, I hope I'm looking the right way at the right time. That is all that is. As we head over in towards the actual cell area of the prison block, Smith still on 2, looking to again get 3 to tie Visions
here
overall,
to rotate. He's that number 1 on the minimap right there.
Overall kill spot leader.
Yeah, it's just for seeding in the groups. Yeah, exactly.
Region, right, so many different places you can get shot from, especially here in solos.
Oh yeah, so I guess it doesn't really matter if they're
press on through here as we get this.
Ideally, you would want to be
so many players. Zix takes damage.
Higher up.
Plates will go in. But how does he get escape from here? He sees Believe below. I don't think Believe actually spots him, so that gives him an opportunity to escape.
Skullface just died.
After him here.
Eddie got a kill though.
The answer is no, but what he does find is some very valuable.
I wish that they would show like the entire solos.
He's got space, and now he is
I would really want to see like all the way down
prime form to get to the high ground. He could play on top of the rooftop if he wants to with all the loot he just kitted himself out with.
Believe is on 7.
Could be an option for him as we start to close out this 3rd circle. Believe
and Tekka are fighting.
Patsuka taken down.
Those guys are teammates.
In the same process as everyone's really trying to get to that top 30, which you do crack into. So again, that first multiplier step up now in play.
Smith here doing great work. He sets the C4 and he actually connects with it, but it's not going to do enough damage. It was a genius play. Bit 200 IQ. Unfortunately, he just takes too much damage on the first peak from Zix, who then manages to chase on after and clean things up. But honestly, nearly a 2000 IQ from Smith, and showing why he is pushing for kill lead here.
And I think Smith just died a second and a half before respawns closed. So the timing,
he's wiped
I was going to say,
anyway.
could have been ideal, but Prodigy does snipe him out of the sky. At least that would be the assumption with him dropping.
Red
so
still
that's
hasn't
what,
moved
3 kills.
from the
so
water
he finds
tower.
himself tied with Vision. Could be a possible overall tie as we
every
depend on what happens with the overall score. And, well, we head back to
Bullface died,
Breadman.
Shifty died.
I feel like you could play like the girl from Ipanema right here. Just casual elevator music, Breadman getting to work on the sniper rifle.
That's exactly how he is most of the time. Just calm, casual, collected.
A little corny
because
you can't shoot through that part.
What's going on the map. He knows that he's good enough to do damage regardless.
Eddie just died as well. I think Eddie had a decent game here. So.
Don't have any timing there. Launches out a C4 to potentially pick up someone below. We're going to get a shot here of King AJ, who has to make a hellish rotation. And he's going to come up against Abwiz potentially here. And actually checks on off towards the right. But anytime you push uphill towards this prison, you are asking.
I'm not gonna lie, I do think that like solos is definitely not as fun to watch.
And now he actually, I think, hears the footsteps and confirms that he's been able to find Abwiz. Clean shots from King AJ. That gives him now 6 total kills, plus a little bit of breathing room as he finds himself into the next circle.
I think one of the scary things here, especially if you are a Guild fan, and as he checks away, that was a bit more scary. We'll come back to it, see if he survives. Well, what I was going to say is that he's actually lifting his average every single game.
Yes.
And again, the player that we spoke about, how good he can be if he keeps on doing that, and he looks hot going into tomorrow's tournament.
The other part about this is, if I'm not mistaken, Twisted Minds have no more members on the field. And looking at the total scoreboard, Twisted Minds are at 108, Guild are at 95.9. So they have a huge opportunity here with the multiplier possibly getting into the top 5 to where they may actually take the #1 overall seed after all this is said and done.
Yeah, and what a statement that would be.
I'm assuming that they go into it being like, okay, we want to show like 4 or 5 different POVs, so then they'll list like the 5 teams that they want to watch that game, and then they'll just swap between the 5 teams, because it's impossible for them to watch every single person.
Trying to find AJ, who cooks a nade, tries to use it to cover his escape, and oh, if Brolic had hit that, that would have been something, but the Moors does not connect. AJ will escape. Guild continue to push for that top spot.
And this is a great position for Brolic to freely get into the next circle. So now this is about what can he find around the outsides before he has to give up the last
trying to do
remaining
exclamation
high
mark
ground
Polgar
onto
26.
the circle. AJ back up and over. Dealt with by the Mines for just a moment, but largely unaffected. Stukic's just below. Smoke trying to get him on the way in the circle, and AJ just
if AJ had that thermal, he would have killed him.
Perfect play. You're essentially covered by the smoke that Stukec puts out as well. The problem is, because Stukec's been patient here, AJ has lost him entirely, but will step up, will spot him, and will actually take more damage as well. So he's got to confirm, and then he's got to get himself this in. No ticks left in the gas mask, so no opportunity to run out there, even though the zone pull will be towards him. Oh my god, AJ! What did you just do? I think there was actually damage in the back of Joe from Biffle as well, but the fact that he's still alive is a miracle, and hits the snipe as well. Brolic then cleans that on up. We're down to our final
that was
4.
still
AJ
impressive.
here looking to cement top spot for Guild Esports.
He needs to make a decision, though. The circle's going to rotate down, but you're going to give up high ground because of it, and he rotates right into Biffle, who's waiting for him.
Biffle!
Now all of a sudden, 8 kills for Biffle. A chance for him to possibly breathe a little bit of life.
Again.
Team Falcons here late. Brolic also on the low ground with him. 3v3. Thermite South. Opening shots. Gets the tag and the break. The clean
Bread
follow.
should get this
now
trade
it's just
here.
down to Breadman again from the high ground. Can Biffle reset this long enough? No, he cannot.
Everything went, like I said, would go.
Victory slipped through his fingers in one of the most
I literally made a Holger command. Me and Dave. I don't understand.
To finish in the top 3, 2 straight maps in a row.
Absolutely. I think there's a couple of confidence boosts that come on through, but definitely right about Breadman. Not only seeing out this map in particular, but also that his game plan's working. We keep making jokes about he's hitting the water tower, right? Just doing his thing, but to consistently
he doesn't
place
even
up
play
towards
Rebirth.
the top here in solos, very, very difficult thing to do with everything that goes on the map. Get
That's why
second
I'm
in one,
so surprised
first in the
that
other,
Joe,
showing why he
not
is
Joe,
one of the best
Brad
players.
played this, because
You
he
wanna
said
really
that if World Series of
cement it,
Warzone was going to be resurgence, he wasn't going to be
this
playing
personal
it.
drop, he has the top overall average finish next to Smith and Jackal. They both find themselves top 8. He's 8.66 average placement. But with that first, I can already guarantee you, he's going to be the top average placer in this solos competition.
Yeah, he plays really, really
Which
well.
is impressive in itself, but also the fact that, again, he spoke in his interview about how when he comes into trios, when he's looking to provide support to Joel, Foreign Jace, he's going to play that water tower. He's going to look out over them from there. So, you know, whatever's working today, or whatever's going on today, it just reinforces that their game plan, and that they have a game plan for starters, is a great thing. Looking forward to the rest of this tournament.
Lots of things for us to consider in terms of narrative talking points. Puckett's having a good time out in the stands. Of course he is. If there's one thing you can guarantee about MLG Puckett, he's going to have a lot of fun, no matter where he finds himself. So it's always a pleasure to see him enjoying it from the comfort of course, this incredible stage here at STC. What you got?
I think one of the things to talk about is the fact that Biffle comes in second there, right? I think that was a little bit of a reminder at the end.
Crazy.
Okay, this hasn't been our day, but there's not a chance that I'm going out quietly. Just puts himself in a spot there where he picks up quite a few kills.
I'll make a
I
command
think
later.
the actual kill he picks up on AJ, I don't think he has much in the way of loot. He just plays very
Show us the leaderboard
around the zone that he has. So, you know, the fact that he's picking up second there, it hasn't been their afternoon for sure. We're still expecting him to be very strong in this tournament. Yep. I think right at the end there,
feel right.
Okay, I think we figured out the jitters.
Yeah, I think especially from the individual standpoint, right? I mean, again, not to just throw it away, because seeding, I think, will matter.
Yes,
I think it gets you into a position
I
where you don't have to fight up against other very strong teams. Falcons, I don't think really care who they play up against, so the seeding conversation is not nearly as important to them as it is to some of our, well, I don't want to say bubble teams, but squads that could be labeled as maybe a dark horse.
That's how it gets green, because if you don't have that,
so when you deal with teams like Cloud9, teams like Guild, this has been great news for them overall, but like you mentioned, a little bit of a, okay, let's not sweat too much here, guys, if you're a Falcon squad member.
Oh, definitely not. And we do get to see the end of this. And Breadman just pushes up on the third party, right? It is classic Warzone. It's essentially trying to repeat what he did in the last map, except this time he actually wins the gunfight and just about sees it off. The fact that Biffle nearly actually...
No, there's no extra money today. We're all playing for, I think tomorrow and after tomorrow, like the group stages are the most important days, because that will determine if you get to finals or not. But W-Ray! I'll make a command.
Today, so many good moments, and man, Breadman, I can't believe it, getting the job done after second place from last game. Breadman, he's dynamic.
Look, I mean, C9, they're showing up today, especially towards the end there. Breadman, he starts off with a little bit of a dynamic day, you know, playing really well, making it far, taking down Shifty in a big 1v1, moves back over to the water tower with a sniper, and we're like, okay, you're slowing down a bit. I don't know if this is the play, but you're getting kills. And as soon as he leaves the tower in the last game, he comes out with a win on the day, and I think that is huge for C9, because although, you know, C9, there's a ton of good teams here, we see that a win is going to shoot them up in the standings for this solo day, and they were not far from the top.
Yeah, and I mean, to top with that, with
Mark,
C9
thank you so much for the gift to Ashley.
I mean, what,
WWW.
C9 in Call of Duty, at least for me, I think it was, what,
IW
2017, a while, right?
Thank you so much.
For them, I was actually telling production, hold on. Breadman's on this side, like you had mentioned, but Jolo was on the other side playing, right?
Yeah,
and that one little chase moment where we're like, okay, he's going, and then, the turn-on happened, but he did get tagged up. You saw, I believe it was King AJ and Biffle that shot at him, so it's like, ooh, maybe that chase. It could have been a 1v1 C9 moment, though. How awesome would that have been?
It would have been awesome. But also for King AJ, let's talk about how awesome he was in Infinity. I could not believe the plays he was making.
Yeah, absolutely. Little turn on towards the end as well. Why the hell not, you know? Look, at the start of the day, I promised a King AJ special. He delivered a full 5-course meal. This guy is insane. King AJ.
A lot of people don't
I'm
know
glad
about
he
the
finally
Twitch
proved that
broadcast.
towards the end. Just brilliant play. Getting so deep into the final game is exactly what that team wants.
100%. King AJ, been waiting for him to wake up for a little bit. He's been a conversation, of course, as you would expect him to be, but that was by far his best performance. I mean, that turn-on was just absolutely nasty. I believe on Shifty, if I'm not mistaken. It could have been...
It was on...
No, that was Joe. That was Joe.
Oh, was it on Joe?
Yes,
it was on Joe.
But there was a Biffle also tagged there too as well. So
I see.
I think
there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Regardless, though, I'm glad to see Team Falcons also wake up with Biffle getting second place, right? So Team Falcons looking pretty good. Hey, but I am ready to find out who our MVP is. In fact, let's head over to the STC Arena for the Sony MVP interview.
Welcome back to the main stage, where some of you at home might be thinking, Banks, why are you standing there with Smith? Twisted Minds, we've already spoken to him today on the main stage. Well, I can tell you that, congratulations, Smith, you are today's MVP for the solos. What an incredible show out from yourself. I've got to ask you, you know, let's first of all talk about the confidence boost. Has that definitely boosted your confidence going into tomorrow's matches?
Oh, absolutely. I honestly, the first game of the day, my first time playing on the setups, I dropped 14 kills in the lobby with some of the best players in the world. And I feel like that was just a massive confidence boost right there. And I'm so excited for tomorrow.
But of course, you don't want to go into tomorrow overconfident or get too aggro. So is there an element of like reining it in, but the shot is on?
It's a lot different tomorrow. I mean, solos is, you know, you got to win your ones. You know, maybe you get third partied. But tomorrow's a different story. You know, you get one knock. They got their two teammates sliding in on you. You definitely can't be overconfident tomorrow. You got to make sure, you know, you just play everything the right way.
You mentioned, you know, that you got 14 kills in one of those maps. I even heard some of the people talking backstage, like, how did he even get into 14 engagements and come out alive? Now, what was the secret, man? What were you finding? Were you hanging around the fringes?
Yeah, honestly, I was just hanging out near the ocean, and everyone was just landing back to get their resurgence timer up so that they could spawn back in, and I was just waiting for them to come off the ocean and hop back up on the shore, and I was just farming out there.
That's the secret, guys. And lastly, you know, you were talking with Puckett earlier. You mentioned that actually you've been adapting really well to this setup while other people might have been struggling. Do you feel like that's been one of your strengths and maybe the rest of your team's strengths, you know, just adapting on the fly?
Taking a little vacation.
Yeah, I think my, like, thought going into this whole thing was just, like, everyone else is going to be, like, not used to it. I mean, obviously I wasn't, but I just wanted to play with my full confidence right off rip. And it definitely helped out because towards the back end, those last couple matches, you could definitely tell people were figuring it out and getting comfortable.
At another setup.
Well, Smith, you definitely played with a lot of confidence, and we can't wait to see how much confidence you bring to the matches for the next couple of days. But for now, congratulations on getting MVP. You've been absolutely amazing. I'm going to spud you. And for now, we're going to go back to the studio to round out day one of our Warzone competition.
All right, Barney, thank you for that. Our Sony MVP, Z Smith. We had to rack our brains because there were so many great plays and players today, but Z Smith was the one that came to mind off the rip. We said we got to pick him. Infinity, Z Smith, such a good day.
Yeah, I mean, look, just right from the rip, we could tell that Smith was going to have a good day, right? And a big reason why was his early game plays. I mean, Smith just right early on, you could tell he knew how he wanted to play all the games. Yes. He was playing from factory right off the rip. He did that pretty much every single game, and albeit the final game was a little bit slow, he was not the only one to do that, right? A lot of teams, a lot of players were doing that. SGP is another one that I think was kind of chilling early on in the games, picking up a lot of kills, and that's why we didn't really see a lot of them late on into the games. But Smith, I mean, this guy just so good. Those early games from him, insane.
Insane stuff, Dream. And obviously, you look at that interview, there's a lot of moments to take away from that. Was there anything that stood out to you?
No, just the fact that, like, we had talked about some of those regain recovery spots right near Ocean on both sides. We did see even on the opposite side, right? Patsuko was over there by boat, picking up a lot of eliminations on those levels. You can catch people coming in from the sky. And I mean, Seymour, we were talking about some of these teams that, like, hey, we haven't really seen a lot of them, but they're picking, as you mentioned, Brody, a lot of early games. And like SGP Syndicate, they were like, what, at least top 10 on the leaderboard at one point.
They were high up on the leaderboard, and it's interesting because the only time you really notice these players is when Dongi really got into that top 2 versus Oki. He lost it, but other than that, it's funny to see teams who are, you know, not really the main talking points still finding success here in the solos. It just kind of goes to show how chaotic things really are in Resurgence and how really anybody could do anything at any time here, and it's really important to notice those teams who might not be popping off but still are doing good and coasting.
Yeah, I think today again was a great day to not only see how these individuals would play, because look, it's not easy to come into a trio event and then all of a sudden now you got to play solos, right? But obviously they were up to the task for it. Some stood out more than others, but regardless, it was a nice, you know, little test to see what we could be expecting moving forward to the group stages taking place tomorrow as well as day number 3. An important job for the teams moving forward for the next 2 days, obviously, to not be one of those bottom 8 teams, to move forward, to be top 14, to move into the final day and potentially be champions. Big surprises, 6 games. We had a lot of winners. For me, Juki's. That was the most special one. Juki's just such a great guy, a good player. He's had his struggles throughout World Series of Warzone. He's had his struggles at least this year in general.
I was going to say, I don't think that he's been here yet today.
Now obviously coming on the rebirth, but he seems confident, more confident than ever. He's back on the main stage, and he's feeling great. Seymour, I actually want to go to you to start off the rip. You know, Juki's was my favorite out of the others. Maybe one stands out to you?
I mean, I think Twisted Minds was kind of a favorite of mine today.
Yeah.
You saw not only, you know, Z-Smith having his moments, Aiden early on, we were kind of hyping up Falcons, then we see
come
Aiden
here
taking
looking
down
for me, I'm
Hisoka
dead.
late in
That's
game
so
number
funny.
1, and then we're bringing Knight into the mix as well. And people are talking about, you know, maybe Knight might not be the best competitor here, you know, rated a little bit lower to the rest. At least the players were thinking that. I wasn't thinking that whatsoever. As he comes out, he puts on a show here. And Twisted Minds are, you know, an organization who are picking up some good players to carry on their legacy from winning the Gamers 8 last year as well. So looking to be back-to-backs as organization champions here.
Well, I tell you what, man, even though I was happy to see Juki's win, I was happy to see Breadman pop off as much as he was. He shaved off the hair, but it didn't affect the gun skill, clearly. Puck gets on stage with Breadman. Let's hear what Breadman had to say.
It's tourney tonight, but it's a late.
I'm here with the winner of the final game of the night, Breadman. When we saw you up top, everyone knew the game was basically over. Talk me through the strategy. What did you do to those kids?
I played super slow today. Obviously, it's Resurgence, so you see a lot of people flying around, but being on the keys, I'm super reserved, and it paid off. Had 2 second places and that last game dub, so it was nice.
I was talking to Biffle. He was saying, dude, it's so frustrating. Everyone's playing so ratty. They're just listening for me to move by, and then they're attacking. You seem to just be picking them off one by one. Did you have a favorite victim of the night?
Ooh, I don't know, but I can say shout out to Bravik for absolutely slamming me in the 3rd game. I'm not going to slam anyone else, but Bravik went crazy
Brett is
on me,
the
bro.
only one that would ever admit that.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, and finally, tell me about tomorrow. So the seeding is over. Cloud9 looking very strong going into day 2. How's the squad going to perform?
I'm super excited for tomorrow. Obviously, it's a lot different than today, and there wasn't really anything on the line today, no nerves. So tomorrow's going to be pretty big, and we're going to lean into dropping 7 of the team. So we're not going to be one of those, I promise.
True or false, haircut gives you a buff?
True.
Get the Breadman buff. Get cleaned up. We'll see you then.
Get the Breadman buff, get cleaned up. I did my best, but I don't know if it's still helping me out whenever it comes to my Warzone fingers. But regardless, man, Brawlik apparently slammed him in game number 3. I guess that gave him the motivation dream to perform as well as he did on the back end in the final 2 maps.
Hey, I believe it, because Brawlik is good. I mean, I see that guy sometimes even playing solo squads, and he'll pick up like 50, 60. Like, he is a slayer. But for Cloud9, super impressed by them. I mean, you asked what
Anybody know if this starts at the same time every day?
All of us, we know we hyped the Falcons, but for Cloud9, that's consistent. 2 second places and then a first?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, well, how about our other rosters? Right, Fnatic was getting a lot, at least when it came to the threat meter. I know they weren't getting a lot of respect. Fnatic, I mean, how well did they do today?
Honestly, it's kind of funny because we didn't really see them, like, whatsoever today, really. Like, beyond a couple of moments where maybe they appeared on screen, they were actually pretty quiet. But the fact of the matter is, they actually still ended up pretty high on our seedings at the end of the day.
Sure.
So, yeah, low on the threat level meter, man, that's a load of rubbish. These guys, they're still looking pretty good. And I think when they come together tomorrow for the group stages, that's when they will be at their best.
Yeah.
I am excited to see what Skullface is going to do, because when they let that guy fly, he is going to do some serious damage.
Man, Skullface, he wasn't the strongest today. Let's not kid ourselves, right? But he's still one of my favorite players to watch. He is, in fact, one of the most winning solo players. Solo YOLO, right? Global Finals last year. There was another event where he ended up taking 2 solo YOLOs during the 4 that were played. So, without a doubt, like, I know he has the potential to go big. Today wasn't his day, but come group play, see more Skullface, he's going to be dangerous on the battlefield.
It's a totally different game style when we're going into our day 2, 3, and 4 solos. You're good, you're bad, you have your bad days, and you just got to shake it off going into the rest. Some people might also be thinking that the solos don't really have too much impact going into those days, but for Fnatic, it's good that they got up top inside the leaderboards and making sure that into day number 2, they don't have to really worry about facing those top teams that were hot today. Make sure that they don't have to play against, maybe your Breadmans who are playing good, or your Twisted Minds who are really
I'm very excited to see who's in their group.
To see everybody kind of starting off a little slower at the beginning, getting used to being here at the EWC, and then towards the end, we had so many highlight plays. It just goes to show that into the group stage, when we get to the trios, everybody's back into their full form.
Yeah.
It is going to level up the gameplay.
I think just to add to that too, like kind of like what we were talking about, exactly what you mean. Like they're getting used to it, they're getting situated, and I mean, when you're in that spot to where you're not in your usual environment, I think what Danjo mentioned, that you're not in your own setup. It takes some time to get used to it. So for some of these players, they might be like, you know what, we got the jitters out. We're not really worried. Maybe we have like 10
Game start time each day.
Like, but tomorrow it's going to be all locked in. Passion's going to be there, and it's going to be super, super intense.
Well, hey, it's been a long day. A lot of matches been played, 6 in fact. Let's take a look at our overall rankings. Who ended up being up top, and Z Smith, no surprise there, taking over first, Seymour.
Yeah, Z-Smith all the way at the top, 32 eliminations. So not quite the elimination leader towards the end. You can see that, you know, Patsuka actually with 35 in at number 4. It really kind of brought it back for Team Vitality. And you can see that even in those top 5 players in general, it is narrow margins between players on multiple different teams.
Well, let's call this for what it is, right? I mean, we're not necessarily looking at specific standings.
44.8, 44.7.
And we look at a roster like Guild. I hyped them up at the beginning of the day. We wanted to see big performances out of the likes of Vision and SR, and that's exactly what we got to see. Big performances. Wars as well down at 28th. Honestly, the fact that he's a little bit lower down the scoreboard alongside his teammates doesn't really matter too much. The fact you've got 2 in the top 6 is pretty big.
Yeah, no, it's crazy too, because I mean, even like when we were talking about our fantasy team, Raul and Hisoka both 34th to 37th, but Dongi, I mean, Donwick was higher than them, right? So I mean, some of these standings, again, I'm sure these players are not like super taken aback by it, but regardless, they had some time to get used to their surroundings. But for Foreign Jace, I mean, that's pretty good for Cloud9, right? 27th, 19 eliminations, but you got to think about those 2 wins, the win that Breadman had plus the second places. That's just really good for them and the overall like standing.
Good stuff overall. I think it was a great day. Again, getting used to the setups. You're not playing at home anymore. Maybe you didn't have LAN experience. Now you do. A bit of a soft, kind of come up again for the group play happening on day 2 and 3. It was a wonderful day from each and every one of us. I leave it to you for your final words. Seymour, we start with you.
You're not even announcing the group.
Jay shows up for Destroy, comes out with a win. I don't think you can write a better story than that. I'm sure that it's going to be a memory for Jay for the rest of his life.
Memory indeed, and a memory working with you. Infinity, what are your final words before we get out of here?
You know how to butter me up, mate, honestly. Yeah, it's just been such a wonderful day of Warzone, but the fact that this is only the beginning, I think, is the most promising thing for me. This was just the solo seedings day. When we get the teams together tomorrow, I think that is just what's so exciting. I can't wait.
That's it, and Dream, always great to be alongside you. Give me your final words before we get out of here.
I honestly, it's just been a great day. I love seeing these players like just fight against adversity, and I mean for Oki, who just said like what coming out.
Yeah. Everybody brought their own controllers.
Come out with a win. That is insane. I love that passion. Guys, it's just gonna get more intense, and I'm just happy to be here with y'all.
That's right. It's only going to get more intense and better each and every day, and you do not want to miss out because we have 3 more days to go. That was just solo seeding. Now the real work begins tomorrow when we
Wow, this is like a month and a half long. Wow. Bum, bum. Ba-dum-bum. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. God, this is Ronaldo. That's why. That makes a lot. I see. Did you just end the stream? I'm so confused. They said, like, they were closing out the... Okay, yeah, they're just replaying the same ads over and over again. Okay, I'm gonna hop off. I'm gonna go get my dog. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I will catch you guys later today. I will be doing 2 streams today.